Chapter 1821. That night, Jiang Qin learned all the information about these three sections. One was a sect that practiced Devil Dao, one was a sect of the Beast Clan from the southern region, and the last one was Fire Dragon Hall, which was a famous school in the western part of the northern region. It was said that thousands of years ago, an expert of the second layer of the Immortal King realm came out of it. Early the next morning, Jiang Chun led the crowd out of the Citra clan. Before leaving, Jiang Chun warned Xian. Xian was still standing in the yard, motionless. Even after Jiang Chun had disappeared from the family for the time, it would take an incense stick to burn. Elder, the young master, and the others have left. A disciple came forward and held his arm. I really didn't expect the young master to be so well informed. We've lived in the western part for tens of thousands of years, but we didn't know there were other subsects. The young master only took dozens of days to find out. The decision to rely on him is the best decision I've made in my life. As long as we follow the young master, our Citra clan has the possibility of becoming the largest clan in the western part. Xian took a deep breath. But what if the head comes back again? The disciple asked. That depends on whether the young master will help us or not. But if we didn't rely on the young master, our clan would have disappeared long ago. We'll die anyway. It's up to fate. Xian didn't show any emotion. When he relied on Jiang Chun, he had already thought about this result. Fire Dragon Hall was established in a town in the western part of the northern region. Like the Jade Sword sect of Immortal King Xian Jun, most of the people living here wanted to send their children to study in the school. However, a few months ago, everyone received a message from Fire Dragon Hall, which told them to leave as soon as possible. Not long after they left, the Underworld Gang and the Dark Wing Alliance arrived. The three sects became subsects of the Black Sect almost at the same time. They also learned that the Citra clan had been destroyed by Jiang Chun at the same time. Old who? Are you sure the Citra clan is a subsect of the head like us? A man with long brown hair on his face asked. He was Zhou Tsong, the head of the Dark Wing Alliance. The one he called Old who was Hu Shua, the head of the Underworld Gang. Both of them were at the half-step Immortal King realm. I informed you as soon as I got the news. It's because we're all in the same boat. If you don't believe me, you can go and look for that guy called Jiang Chun. Let's see whether he'll attack you or not. Hu Shua didn't bother to explain it to them. Why does Jiang Chun want to attack a subsex? I've never heard the headmaster mention anything about it. Could it be that the Citra family offended someone, which led to their destruction? Could it have nothing to do with our subsex identities? Zhou Tsong had been living in this town for a month. He was already a little bored. He was a lion himself. The place where the Blue Feather Alliance was established was also in a dense forest in the west. This way, they could revert to their original form at any time. However, they couldn't use it in this town. I'm sure the information I got is true. If you don't believe me, just leave. Anyway, once we're separated, none of us will be a match for Jiang Chun. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try, Hu Shua said and left the room directly. He didn't know how many times he had repeated this in a month. This news was accidentally obtained by his brother in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Of course, he wouldn't tell the truth because it would implicate his brother. When he went out, Zhou Tsong finally couldn't bear it anymore. The Citra family was also a branch school, and Jiang Chun had attacked their branch school. In his opinion, Hu Shua's practice of the demon doctrine had made him hallucinate. Zhou Tsong walked out of the room and waved his arm. All the disciples of the Blue Feather Alliance, listen to my order. Immediately leave this damn place and return to the Supreme Jungle. Yes, Headmaster. Everyone was very excited. Like Zhou Tsong, they had already been in this place for a long time. However, if the headmaster didn't say anything, they didn't dare to speak. Now that the headmaster had spoken, they didn't even think about it and directly agreed. Hundreds of disciples poured out of the town almost at the same time. However, when they were about to go out, they were blocked by several fierce immortal forces. After hiding for so long, I thought that your three sub-schools had joined together. I didn't expect that you would dare to go out from here. Xian Yu's cold voice sounded. Immediately afterward, all the experts of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain appeared and landed outside the town. In the middle of the town, Jiang Chen's group of 4, as well as the 5 sect masters of the overseas Immortal Mountain, also flashed inside, sandwiching all the people of the Blue Feather Alliance in the middle. The appearance of so many experts made Zhou Song instantly sluggish. He understood that what Hu Shua said might be true. This Jiang Chun was likely to come for their Black Gate subschool. Otherwise, it was impossible to gather so many experts here. Who are you? Although Zhou Tsong had some warning in his heart, he still asked tentatively. Don't play dumb. Your 3 subschools have gathered together to guard against me, right? Jiang Chun smiled and asked, I have some bad news for you. The headmaster of your Black Gate seems to have given up on your 3 subschools. What nonsense are you talking about? With Jiang Chen's affirmation, Zhou Tsong's heart instantly cooled down. The strength of their Blue Feather Alliance was not very strong, and Jiang Chun had several immortal kings with him. Not to mention a one-on-one fight. Even if the 3 subschools were to join forces, they would not be a match for him. You should be very clear about what I'm talking about. Jiang Chun smiled and said, I'll give you 2 choices. The first is to honestly tell me about the Black Gate and the headmaster of the Black Gate, and I may let you go. The second is that the whole sect disappears from the immortal realm. Impossible! Zhou Tsong shook his head vigorously, and his hands hidden in his sleeves were clenched tightly. He knew what the consequences of betraying the headmaster were. Although Jiang Chun had many experts with him, they still had a chance. Just leave him alive. The others can be dealt with. Jiang Chun lost interest in talking with them. He waved his hand and walked to the side. Head Zhou, we're here to help you. Just as Jiang Chen's voice fell, many people suddenly appeared in the town. The one in the front is Hu Shua, the headmaster of the Underworld Gang, and the one behind him is Zhu Zhong, the dean of the Fire Dragon Institute. Bai Xiaoyan whispered, It's the Dark Feather Alliance we've surrounded, isn't it? Jiang Chen asked casually. When the helpers appeared, Zhou Tsong immediately led his disciples to break out of the encirclement. When he spread his immortal qi, he also turned into a lion-headed man. Chapter 1822. The disciples of Dark Feather Alliance were far weaker than him, so they couldn't transform into beast heads. However, after exhausting all their cultivation, their strength had improved to a certain extent. However, when they collided with the disciples of Kunlun Immortal Mountain, they had already shown signs of defeat. Xinyu and Songyu didn't even make a move. So did the Underworld Gang and Fire Dragon Hall. Hundreds of people were blocked by the 5 masters of the overseas Immortal Mountain. In an instant, the town was in a mess. Jiang Chun put his hands behind his back, as if he was completely uninvolved. While they were fighting, he could still stroll on the street with Bai Xiaoyan. Eldest senior brother, what do you think are the chances of these immortal kings from the overseas Immortal Mountain to deal with the master of the Black Sect? Mei Chenyu and the others kept attacking while surrounded by many disciples. Every time they blasted out their immortal qi, at least dozens of disciples would spurt out blood and fly backward. The situation was completely one-sided. Not necessarily. Bai Xiaoyan shook her head and said, Yes. Jiang Chun was a little helpless. When Bai Xinling attacked the Immortal Mountain in the Outer Sea, her strength was almost overwhelming. The strength of the Black Sect Master was not much weaker than Bai Xinling. Even if they went to the Outer Sea together, they might not be a match for them. While they were talking, more than 50% of the disciples of the 3 sects were injured. Some timid ones even ran away, leaving the rest standing still. Their 3 sect masters, on the other hand, were directly captured. Good. It seems that if we encounter such a thing in the future, we can directly let the people of the overseas Immortal Mountain deal with it. It saves us some trouble. Bai Xiaoyan put her hands behind her back and said with satisfaction, If the master of the Black Sect didn't give up on them, I'm afraid it wouldn't be so easy. Jiang Chen said, But this is the worst part. Yes, it means that he found Ikari and doesn't need these subsects. Bai Xiaoyan knew what Jiang Chen meant. After a deep sigh, she said, If he dares to hurt Ikari, I will make him disappear completely in the immortal realm. Jiang Chen said very calmly, but only at this time his attitude was the most firm. With your current strength, I'm afraid you are not a match for him. But I believe in you. Your talent is almost the strongest I have ever seen. It's not impossible for you to reach master's cultivation. When you grow to that point, even the three great immortal kings won't be in your eyes, let alone a mere sect leader of the Black Sect. Bai Xiaoyan turned to look at Jiang Chun and said in a deep voice, "Yes." Jiang nodded. But how difficult it was to reach the immortal mountain. He was afraid that when he really became an immortal king, Hikari would be completely different from the little girl from before. While he was talking with Bai Xiaoyan, the masters, the three immortal mountain, immortal. Jiang Chun glanced at them and found that these three people were somewhat different from the people of the Black Sect he had encountered before. The aura of these people of the Black Cloud Sect and the Citra clan was very strange. They were somewhat similar to the master of the Black Sect. Needless to say, Corpse Cliff was the master of the Black Sect. Jiang Chun did not doubt that he could not find a second master of the Black Sect in the entire Eastern Domain. However, Jiang Chun did not feel anything wrong with the three Immortal Mountain Sect masters in front of him. Even when he was talking with Bai Xiaoyan, Jiang Chun's perception had spread out. This group of disciples was no different from ordinary sect disciples. If the Kunlun Immortal Mountain hadn't found some clues, Jiang Chun wouldn't have found them no matter how hard he tried. There is nothing to say. Zhou Tsang shook his head. He now regretted not listening to Hu Shua's words. If they didn't come out of the town, they would not be attacked from two sides. Additionally, they could also resist for a while. Perhaps their master would really come to help them. You guys from the branch school are so stubborn. Jiang Chun didn't force them. After taking them into the Fire Dragon courtyard, Xin Yu and Wei Yu led the disciples of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain to search. The five masters of the Overseas Immortal Mountain just sat down and took a rest. They knew that they were here to help. They would do it when necessary. Sitting on the steps, Jiang Chun rested his chin on one hand. Before you, Jiang Chun had given Black Cloud Sect a chance to tell him everything about the Black Sect and the master of the Black Sect. Unexpectedly, this person didn't know how to cherish it. In the end, even his soul was completely erased. Until his death, he didn't see the master of the Black Sect launch a strike. In terms of strength, the three sects should not be as strong as Black Cloud Sect. If they don't care about you, how could they save you? Bai Xiaoyan walked in front of them and asked softly, "We don't know what the Black Sect is, neither do we know who the master of the Black Sect is." The three wouldn't be scared by Xiaoyan's words. Zhou Tsang, as the one in the wrong, of course had to bite the bullet and say, "Jiang Chun, our three sects and schools didn't have any grudges against you. Why did you kill us?" "Kill them." Before Bai Xiaoyan could say anything, Jiang Chun waved his hand and said, "After killing them, search them carefully. Maybe you can find some valuable clues. If not, it doesn't matter. Don't do it first." Sensing that Bai Xiaoyun's immortal strength was gathering in her body, Hu Shua hurriedly shouted, "Are you crazy?" Hearing this, Zhou Tsang hurriedly scolded in a low voice, "If you dare to say it, I'm afraid that we can't even die. The master won't come to save us at all. When they solved the Corpse Cliff some time ago, the master didn't come out, let alone us. Today we can only live if we say it. If we don't say it, we will definitely die." Hu Shua took a deep breath and said lightly, "Oh, it seems that you are quite clear about my affairs. Do you have any relatives or friends around me?" Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows. The east of the eastern region and the west of the northern region were tens of thousands of miles apart. This kind of news would almost never spread. "I can't tell you this." Hu Shua shook his head and said, "But I will tell you the news you want to know. Ask away." Look at his awareness. Bai Xiaoyan reached out and patted Zhu Zhong and Zhou Tsang on the head. "Good, I like people like you." Jiang Chun laughed, got up, and walked into the living room. "Master Hu Shua, no matter what, I will let you go." "Thank you, Master Jiang Chun." Hu Shua hurriedly cupped his hands to Jiang Chun and heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 1823. Seeing this, Zhou Tsang and Zhu Zhong gave up. It was Hu Shua who had given them the news that Jiang Chun had really come here. Now that he said that the great sect master would not come to save them, it should be true. As they walked in, the two of them looked at each other and nodded. "Speak," Sitting in a chair, Jiangchen looked at Hushua. Lord Jiangchen, I have never actually met the great sect master. 5,000 years ago, our underworld gang was forced by a wisp of his soul clone to become a subsect of his. All these years, we have to select a child who meets his requirements every year. As for the reason, we have never asked, nor did we dare to ask. Hushua gulped and said, What else? This information was as good as nothing to Jiangchen. Nothing else. In the past 5,000 years, I have only seen his soul clone 3 times. He only appeared for a few seconds each time and left after giving instructions. Hushua thought for a moment and added, Jiangchen nodded symbolically and said, Although your information is of no use to me, I will still keep my promise and let you live. Thank you, Lord Jiangchen. Hushua immediately knelt on one knee and cupped his fists in thanks. However, as soon as he knelt down, a black crystal slipped out of his sleeve and fell to the ground. Oh, that's right. The great sect master personally gave this crystal to me when I first met him. He said it contained the sect's immortal energy. As long as a child can withstand it, they will meet his requirements. Looking at the stone on the ground, Hushua hurriedly said, Immortal energy. Wafu crossed her arms and laughed disdainfully. Jiangchen bent down to pick it up and brought it to Jiangchen. This thing should have condensed some of the impure energy in his body. It is indeed a bit too much to call it immortal energy. Jiangchen took it. With Bai Xiaoyan and Huafu by his side, he directly channeled his immortal energy into the crystal. However, when he poured his immortal power into it, he suddenly felt a fog enveloping him, just like the black fog when he saw the sect master of the black sect. He saw Jiangchen sitting motionlessly on the chair. Even his eyes had turned completely black. Bai Xiaoyan took a step forward and put her hand on Jiangchen's shoulder. She imbued him with a strong immortal power, and Jiangchen instantly came back to his senses. When Jiangchen came to himself, he let out a long sigh of relief. In just a split second, his back was drenched in sweat, and cold sweat flowed down his body. Lord Jiangchen, are you all right? Hushua also broke out in cold sweat. If anything happened to Jiangchen here, he would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Take them away first. Shaking his head, the blackness in his eyes dissipated a little, revealing the whites of his eyes. Jiangchen glanced at the crystal in his hand and waved his hand. After Hushua and the other 2 were taken away by Jiang Yuan, Bai Xiaoyan and Huafu immediately surrounded them. Is there something wrong with this crystal? Staring at the crystal, Bai Xiaoyan asked in a deep voice. She knew that if she hadn't rescued Jiangchen in time, there might have been an accident. Yes, I can be sure that there is definitely a relationship between the Black Sect Master and Black Sky Emperor. Jiangchen nodded heavily and said word by word. Why do you say that? Bai Xiaoyan and Huafu were very curious. They had heard Jiangchen mention this before, but it was only a suspicion. They had never confirmed it. I felt the filthy power in this crystal from Black Sky Emperor's body. Jiangchen took a deep breath and told them about his encounter in the immortal Emperor's tomb, but he didn't mention anything about his mother. Did you have this feeling when you came in contact with the Black Sect Master? Bai Xiaoyan frowned and asked after she closed the door of the living room. I just felt that it was somewhat similar. Eldest senior brother, I think I know what's going on. Jiangchen gradually connected all these things together, and then the whole thing appeared in his mind. When he thought of this, even he felt a little shocked. What? Bai Xiaoyan quickly asked. The Black Sect Master might be the descendant of Black Sky Emperor. After this person was injured in the battle with Emperor Qianji, he might have died from his injuries. The Black Sect Master used the impure energy left behind by Black Sky Emperor to choose a child in the immortal world in order to revive him. Jiangchen frowned and carefully analyzed. When he finished speaking, Bai Xiaoyan and Huafu were also stunned. Jiangchen's words had no flaws at all, and perfectly explained everything that the Black Sect Master did. In addition, this person's behavior was simply incomprehensible. Huff! Jiangchen took a deep breath. Although he analyzed it, he didn't feel relaxed at all. because Hikari seemed to be the person chosen by the Black Sect Master. After all, after being kidnapped, all the subsects were almost abandoned. If that's the case, then why did he want your soul body? Bai Xiaoyan also carefully analyzed this matter. Could it be that there is a relationship between you and Black Sky Emperor? Impossible. Jiang Chen shook his head firmly. He was the son of Wan Sheng. There was no running away from this. Moreover, his mother stood on the opposite side of his mother. To say that he had a relationship with Black Sky Emperor, Jiang Chen would never believe it. That's a bit strange. Bai Xiaoyan looked at Jiang Chen. He suddenly realized that his little junior brother seemed to have a lot of secrets, and these secrets were related to the real experts between heaven and earth. There's nothing strange about it. Jiang Chen suddenly laughed because he thought of what Bai Xinling said to him. He came to the immortal world with a huge responsibility, and this may be the responsibility that he needed to bear. Now, what are you going to do? Bai Xiaoyan looked at Jiang Chen. He didn't expect that just a crystal stone could unlock the secret of the Black Sect Master. If the Black Sect Master is really planning to resurrect Black Sky Emperor, then this matter is already out of your control. Hikari's capture can only be attributed to bad luck. No. Jiang Chen shook his head. His eyes lit up a little. Hikari is my apprentice, and she was captured by the Black School's master. I don't care what method I have, and even if I have to spend 10,000 years or 100,000 years, I won't give up until I save her. Jiang Chen stood up and spoke slowly with a resolute look. Chapter 1824. And I am the young master of Qinji Zone. The sect was destroyed, and Qinji Emperor was killed. It was Black Sky Emperor. If he really revives from this world, no matter what price I have to pay, I will let him fall again. Under the surprised eyes of Bai Xiaoyan and Hua Fu, Jiang Chen spoke again. Faintly, this momentum let Hua Fu seem to see the Qinji Emperor of the past. Although the strength of that person has reached the peak of the entire immortal world, his style of doing things is still like a teenager. It looks like a very unbalanced look, and there is some loose and playful. But in the face of major issues, it is very clear. And now Jiang Chen is almost the same as the Qinji Emperor of the past. Are you the son of Qinji Emperor or the son of Wan Sheng? Hua Fu was in a trance and asked involuntarily, "What did you say?" Jiang Chen did not hear clearly. "Nothing." Hua Fu reacted, shook his head, and said, "I mean, no matter what you do, I will be with you, and I will not let you support the heavy responsibility of reviving the Qinji Zone." "Thank you." Jiang Chen was moved. "I don't know you." Bai Xiaoyan on the side shook his head. "I'm still the same as before, but I suddenly figured out something." Jiang Chen smiled, put the crystal stone into the storage ring. Now he just explored it, and he almost fell into the trap. Maybe after the strength is higher, he can use the turbid force inside to reverse perceive the current situation of Black Sky Emperor. Let's go and see the three lords. Maybe we can get some news from their mouths. Jiang Chen moved his muscles and bones and walked out with a relaxed body. This kid is only in the immortal third layer cultivation base, but the opponent is not weaker than the three immortal kings of the Blackgate Lord and the immortal emperor cultivation base of the Black Sky Emperor. Just thinking about it, I feel terrible. Bai Xiaoyan followed behind with heavy steps. You can't say that. If he doesn't experience these things, how can he become the strongest in this world? Compared with Bai Xiaoyan's worry, Hua Fu was full of confidence in Jiang Chen. In another room, Jiang Chen saw them again. Seeing Jiang Chen enter, the three of them hurriedly stood up. Jiang Chen glanced at them. "Hu Shua, does your nether gang want to become my subordinate sect?" "Ah." Hu Shua didn't expect Jiang Chen to say that. "The demonic cultivators of your sect have only touched the threshold. If you join me like the Citra family, I can teach you how to become a great fiend." Hu Shua's body trembled when he heard those words. What was a great fiend? This was the ultimate mystery that all demonic cultivators pursued. Nearly 99% of demonic cultivators were unable to comprehend the slightest bit of the great fiendish cultivators before they died. And Jiang Chen actually said that he would teach them the method to become a great demon. In other words, you don't believe me? Jiang Chen took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. Suddenly, The originally clear sky was filled with dark clouds, and the entire town was shrouded in darkness. A heart-palpitating, murderous aura slowly emanated from Jiang Chen's body. It really is a great fiend. The demonic qi in Hu Shua's body resonated with the murderous aura. But more than that, he was shocked from the depths of his soul. If Jiang Chen's demonic cultivation was compared to a lion, then Hu Shua's demonic cultivation would at most be an ant on the ground. It wouldn't even be considered an ant's leg. How about it? Are you willing? The murderous aura persisted for a while before Jiang Chen retracted it back into his body. In the immortal world, Jiang Chen didn't really want to reveal his strength as a demonic cultivator. Of course I'm willing. After Hu Shua recovered from his shock, he knelt on the ground, cupped his hands, and kowtowed to Jiang Chen respectfully. Lord Jiang Chen, I'm willing to lead the Netherworld gang and join your sect. I don't expect to cultivate to the great evil spirit realm, and I just hope that you can give me some pointers. Get up. Jiang Chen nodded his head in satisfaction. Lord Jiang Chen, then how should I address you in the future? Also, what sect is our sect? Hu Shua stood up and thought carefully for a while before asking with some doubts. In his memory, there weren't many sects in the northern region that could have so many immortal kings and immortal monarchs. Counting back and forth, there didn't seem to be a sect leader called Jiang Chen. My sect, Jiang Chen looked at Bai Xiaoyan. If he were to say Tianji Pavilion, would Bai Xianling be willing to accept these people? But he couldn't just say Tianji sect. I don't have a sect for the time being. If you want to find me in the future, Kunlun Immortal Mountain and Tianji Pavilion in the northern region, and China sect in the eastern region can all contact me. After pondering for a while, Jiang Chen told the truth. After all, people like Hu Shua would become his helpers in the future. It was not impossible to tell them frankly. Then I'll continue to call you Lord Jiang Chen in the future. Hu Shua nodded his head vigorously. Young master, thinking of the relationship between the Black Sect leader and He Tiandi, Jiang Chen said lightly. Young master, please accept Hu Shua's bow. Hu Shua bowed deeply to Jiang Chen. In the future, if you need our underworld gang, just ask. I will never back down. I don't need you for the time being. Jiang Chen stepped forward and patted him on the shoulder. Seeing Hu Shua supporting Jiang Chen so fast, Zhou Cang and Zhulong both made up their minds. Lord Jiang Chen, our Darkwing Alliance will also follow your order in the future. As for the head of Black Sect, if his soul dares to come to our sect again, I will inform you in time. Zhou Cang walked to Hu Shua's side. So will our Fire Dragon Manor. All the talented disciples will be chosen by Lord Jiang Chen. Zhu Zhong added. I'm not interested in you too. Jiang Chen shook his head as he said, You can't tell me the news about the head of Black Sect. If I accept you as my disciples, it will be a disaster for me in the future. Hu Shua wanted to speak for them. However, he was afraid that Jiang Chen would feel disgusted. The reason that our Fire Dragon Manor could cultivate disciples is that there's a historical site here. I only entered a back room and obtained immortal skills which could be imparted to the disciples in the Fire Dragon Manor. Zhu Zhong gritted his teeth as he chose to tell Zhang Tai the secret. Now that he had betrayed the head of Black Sect leader, he would be a bit scared if he didn't find a backer. Additionally, Jiang Chen's battle strength was very attractive to him. Now that the underworld gang of demonic cultivators could impart the method to cultivate great evil spirits, if they submitted to Zhang Tai, wouldn't they also have such benefits in the future? What historical site? Jiang Chen became interested in it. I don't know. I discovered it in this region when I traveled across the continent in my early years. Zhu Zhong explained at once. Chapter 1825. Later on, I occupied it and established Fire Dragon Department on it. Now, I've developed a town, but I'm the only one who knows this secret. It has never been leaked out. After pausing for a second, Zhu Zhong walked to the gate as he pointed at a mountain behind the school and said, The entrance of the ancient site is under the mountain. It opens every 500 years and lasts for about 30 days each time. How many years will it open again? This was similar to Qinji's sect of Emperor Qinji. According to Elder Su Qian, the tomb of the immortal emperor would also open every 500 years. Zhu Zhong became silent. Why can't you tell me? Jiang asked with a slight frown. Master Jiang, the ancient site opened last year. It will open again in 499 years. Zhu Zhong said embarrassedly. Is there a way to open it by force? Jiang asked straightforwardly. Yes, there is. Zhu Zhong nodded. When I entered it for the first time and was expelled, I tried to break the seal and rush in. However, the fluctuation was so strong that it attracted many powerhouses. I had to kill them all at the risk of my life. Based on the strength of the seal that I sensed last year, if I break it by force, I'm afraid that half of the western region of the north region will be swept away by the fluctuation. By then, many sects will follow the fluctuation and come here. Zhu Zhong said after pondering for a while. Let's go and take a look. Jiang directly stood up. Zhu Zhong clenched his fists and felt a bit relaxed. No matter how many powerhouses would be attracted after the seal was broken, if Jiang could gain treasures from it, he would definitely accept Zhu Zhong as his disciple. By then, with the protection of so many immortal kings and immortal emperors, Fire Dragon Department would be able to stand firm in the western region. No other sect would dare to offend them. Master Jiang, although our Ashen Wing alliance is not a good thing, I'll definitely follow your orders in the future. Seeing that Jiang didn't want to talk to him, Zhou hurriedly caught up with Jiang and said as he ran, almost all the disciples of Ashen Wing Alliance have been killed. Those who survived have escaped from the town. What's the use of you as my disciple? Jiang asked casually. I've checked. There are about 100 disciples with minor injuries in the sect. Their injuries will recover soon. Zhou was startled and continued to follow behind Jiang. I have no interest in your sect. Jiang was somewhat annoyed. He had given Zhou a chance at the very beginning. Since Zhou didn't seize the opportunity, he wouldn't give him a second chance. Moreover, he didn't have the cultivation methods and immortal techniques of the beast race, so he couldn't guide them in their cultivation. If they followed him, the strength of the sect wouldn't improve. Lord Jiang, Zhou begged bitterly. Master Zhou, given that you have a good relationship with Underworld Gang and Fire Dragon Sect, and have nothing to do with the Master of Black Sect, I can spare your life. However, if you continue to follow me, don't blame me for being merciless. Jiang stopped with a frown as he threatened Zhou in a low voice. Zhou stood still and watched Jiang leaving. Bai Xiaoyun, Hu Shuo, and Zhu Zhong followed Zhou to the foot of the mountain. They didn't want to care about Zhou at all. They just wanted to protect their sect first. Lord Jiang, please wait a moment. Zhu Zhong stepped forward and pressed his hand on a stone. Immediately after that, a wave spread out. The stone in front of Zhu Zhong twisted and turned into a stone gate. The wave came from the crack of the gate. A self-formed, bounded domain? This wave was similar to the one in the overseas immortal graveyard. However, it was several times weaker. However, he was sure that this was not an ordinary ancient site. The person who opened this space was at least in the 5th layer of the Immortal King realm. Yes. Zhu Zhong returned to Jiang side and said, the seal of this bounded domain is a bit weak. After sensing the wave, Bai Xiaoyan said after a while, if the 5 sect heads of the overseas immortal mountains work together with me, it won't be a problem to open it by force. However, the wave will spread out. Is there a sect in the west that is stronger than me? Jiang sneered. Not necessarily. However, even if there is, they won't dare to go against us. Bai Xiaoyan stepped forward and pressed her hand on the stone gate, saying, however, it's hard to say whether they will go against us or not. It will definitely attract a lot of people. Open it. Jiang didn't want to wait for 500 years. Now, Xinyu and Songyu were beside him. The 5 sect heads of the overseas immortal mountains were also here. It didn't matter even if those people in the west were attracted here. Lord Jiang, are you really going to open it? Zhu Zhong rubbed his hands and couldn't help but ask, is there a problem? Jiang looked at him. This strong wave might completely destroy our Fire Dragon Hall. Zhu Zhong's expression was complicated. He didn't dare to stop Jiang, but he also didn't want the hall that he had painstakingly built to be destroyed. It's simple. Bai Xiaoyan condensed pure, immortal power on her finger. She waved her hand. The immortal power immediately enveloped the entire Fire Dragon Hall and protected it. "Thank you for your help, Immortal King." Looking around, he saw that the bounded domain had already covered the entire hall. Even the wave of immortal power could only be transmitted from the top of the mountain. Zhu Zhong quickly cupped his hands and thanked Bai Xiaoyan. Under Jiang Qin's summons, the 5 of them gathered here. Even Xianyu and Wei Yu followed them curiously. "Sect heads, gather your immortal power on me later and then break this bounded domain." Bai Xiaoyan stood in front of the stone gate and said in a deep voice as she circulated her immortal power. "No problem." The 5 of them stood side by side. Following Bai Xiaoyan's order, the 5 of them raised their heads at the same time. Majestic immortal power gushed out from their palms and finally gathered on Bai Xiaoyan's body. Feeling the abundant immortal power, Bai Xiaoyan suddenly pressed her hands on the stone gate. She shouted in a low voice. The stone gate slightly loosened, and the bounded domain also showed signs of collapsing. However, as soon as it loosened, Jiang Qin vaguely heard a dragon's roar coming from behind the stone door. Could it be that some ancestral land of the dragon clan has been destroyed? Jiang Qin's eyes lit up, but soon after he sighed. He didn't know if Long Dade had ascended to the immortal realm. If he had, he didn't know where he was. While he was thinking, under the joint efforts of Bai Xiaoyan and the others, a crack appeared on the bounded domain. Buzz! The fluctuation of the bounded domain spread rapidly. Even Bai Xiaoyan had to take 2 steps back to stabilize herself. Due to the bounded domain that she had set up, the fluctuation could only be discharged to the top of the mountain after emerging from the ancient site. When it reached the top of the mountain, it spread out like fireworks. Chapter 1826. With Fire Dragon Hall as the center, many powerful cultivators understood what this wave meant. More and more people even knew about it when the wave spread out. What a great Fire Dragon Hall! It even hides a sealed, bounded domain. This wave of energy seems to have gone through vicissitudes. It seems to be the tomb of a powerhouse or a historical site of a sect. No wonder Fire Dragon Hall could gain such a reputation in the past thousands of years, and even have a disciple with the strength of an immortal king. Now, it seems that we can't hide it anymore. Let's go and see what's going on. We can't let Fire Dragon Hall take all the good stuff. As a member of the western part of the northern region, we are qualified to have a share of it. Many powerhouses in the western part of the northern region rushed here crazily for fear that they would not get any benefits if they were late. Standing in front of the stone gate, Jiang Qin looked at the broken, bounded domain and jumped in without hesitation. "Junior brother, wait." Bai Xiaoyan stopped him. Jiang Qin stopped and asked, "With our strength, we can only keep it loose for 12 hours. You have to come out during this time. If you can't come out, you will be sealed inside. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to tear it open." Bai Xiaoyan stared at Jiang Qin and said in a low voice, "No, I have to go in with you." Huafu couldn't help but come forward. She could feel that it was not very safe inside the bounded domain. She was worried that Jiang Qin might be in danger inside. Xianyu frowned slightly, but didn't say anything. "Lords, why don't you all go in together? We'll wait outside." Zhu Zhong clasped his hands together. He also wanted to see what was inside. For thousands of years, the space had been open many times. However, he couldn't enter the innermost part. He could only wander around the entrance of the bounded domain. Even so, he had obtained many decent cultivation methods and immortal skills. It's not impossible. Several immortal kings from the overseas immortal mountains rubbed their hands and said with fervent eyes, "I'm afraid you don't have a chance to go in." Bai Xiaoyan suddenly looked outside the town. As he spoke, many auras were approaching. Most of them were gold immortals and immortals. A few of them were immortal sovereigns and even immortal monarchs. This was the reason why Bai Xiaoyan said this. "All right, let's go out and stop them." They all understood the meaning of Bai Xiaoyan's words and hurriedly urged the immortal energy in their bodies to spread out in all directions of the town. With them guarding, presumably these people in the west would not dare to barge in for a short period of time, and taking advantage of this opportunity, they could empty all the things inside the barrier. She thought of doing Jiang Qin such a big favor. The 5 sect masters were ecstatic because they knew that Jiang Chun would definitely give them the Immortal Emperor's letter after they returned to the Immortal Mountain. Even though it would not improve their cultivation by much, it would serve as a solid foundation for them in the future. Perhaps one day, they would be able to achieve the legendary martial monarch realm, just like Bai Xianling in a few 100,000 years' time. Aren't you going in? Jiang Chun did not take those auras to heart. With Huafu following you, it's enough. Wei Yu and Xian Yu stood side by side and said softly, "Yes, there must be other immortal monarchs and even immortal kings in the West. If we go in, once they all rush in, they will definitely enter the barrier. And there must be someone outside to guard these immortal kings in the Immortal Mountain." Bai Xiaoyan whispered in Jiang Chen's ear, "We can't stop them. If they want to come in, then let them all come in." Jiang Chun smiled faintly and said, "We can't offend all the experts in the West for a barrier." Understood. Bai Xiaoyan nodded and agreed. Glancing at the several people standing outside, Jiang Chun directly walked in with Huafu and disappeared into the barrier, followed by a trance. Jiang Chun saw the space inside. It was just that this space was indeed a little small. Is this the ancient ruins? Huafu was also stunned. In front of them was a very narrow room with many wooden cabinets. Obviously, the cultivation methods and immortal techniques on the cabinets had already been taken out by Zhu Zhong. There must be a mystery in here. Jiang Chun paced back and forth in the room. The moment a crack appeared in the seal, he did sense the aura of the dragon clan coming from inside. This aura even reminded him of Long Dade. If there was only one room, how could there be such an aura? Huafu pondered for a while, then sat on the wooden table in the middle and said, "It seems that the owner of this space didn't really want to let the later generations enter. So, he set up this place just now so that those who enter can leave after obtaining some benefits. These benefits have all been taken by Zhu Zhong." Jiang Chen nodded and said, "But how can we get out of here and enter the ancient ruins? Don't tell me that when all the experts in the West come in, everyone will be squeezed in here?" Huafu's interest was somewhat dispelled. There must be a way out. Jiang Chun scanned every corner of the room, especially the wooden cabinets. The mechanism might be in one of these places. An incense stick's worth of time passed. Jiang Chun was still in a daze. He was lost in thought. However, when he turned to look at Huafu, his attention was suddenly focused on the wooden table under her. But he remembered that in the tomb of the Immortal Emperor, Bai Xiaoyan was sitting at the wooden table and accidentally found the mechanism technique book. Jiang Chen wanted to give it a try. He walked directly to the wooden table and squatted down to see if there would be any other fortuitous encounters. However, just as he squatted down, his head was slapped. "What are you doing? How dare you have improper thoughts here?" Seeing Jiang Chun squatting under her skirt, Huafu hurried to cover her skirt. She blushed. She hadn't expected Jiang Chun to have such a hobby. "What are you thinking in your head?" Jiang Chun held his head and felt wronged. "Then why did you suddenly squat down?" Huafu stood up. "I was thinking that when Bai Xiaoyan was in the grave of the Immortal Emperor, she was sitting next to a wooden table like this. That's how she got the mechanism method of Emperor Qianji by chance. So, I want to see whether I can still be so lucky." Jiang Chun rubbed his head. Fortunately, his cultivation had improved. Otherwise, Huafu's slap would have sent his head flying. "Wait!" Huafu was about to speak when Jiang Chun suddenly thought of something. Then he glanced back at the room and closed his eyes. Chapter 1827. What Jiang Chun was thinking about was Emperor Qianji's mechanism technique. A moment later, a strange wave spread out from Jiang Chun's body. This wave was not powerful, but attached to every part of the room. In the blink of an eye, the whole room was completely wrapped up. Huafu did not disturb him, but stood quietly and waited. "Found it!" Jiang Chen's eyes suddenly opened. Immediately, he walked quickly to the bookshelf in front of him. With the help of the mechanism technique, he easily found the secret of the room. "Pa!" He reached out and pressed on the wood. As the wave appeared again, the whole wooden shelf gradually became illusory, and the aura of the dragon clan slowly overflowed from inside. Jiang Chun did not hesitate and immediately pulled Huafu into the room. After the two disappeared, The wooden shelf gradually returned to normal. The moment he stepped out of the room, Jiangchen was shocked by the scene in front of him. It was said to be a self-contained space, but the scene in front of him was almost the same as in the immortal world. The range of the space could not be accurately perceived. I'm afraid it's the work of another expert in the immortal world. Although Huafu was not as shocked as Jiangchen, she was also very surprised. To be able to open up such a large space, his cultivation must not be lower than the 3 immortal kings. But looking at the desolate situation, the ancient site has existed for at least hundreds of thousands of years. Yes, I really don't know which expert it was. Feeling the faint aura of the dragon clan in the space, Jiangchen could not help but sigh. If I can get the blood essence of the dragon clan from it, I will definitely respect that senior. You're dreaming? Huafu rolled her eyes at Jiangchen. Jiangchen already had the bloodline power of the Phoenix clan in his body. If he absorbed the blood essence of the dragon clan, then he would be the only one in the immortal world who was not from the beast clan but got the highest opportunity of the beast clan. What if? Jiangchen smiled. The two rose into the air and swept through the space. Everywhere they looked was a scene of devastation. It seemed that there had been a vast battle here, and even in some places, they could still feel the residual power of the battle that had not dissipated. All the good stuff should be there. Jiangchen looked around and finally set his eyes on a huge palace at the end of his vision. This palace was faintly in the shape of a dragon. Jiangchen was basically sure that the one who had lived in this space before was definitely a dragon in the immortal realm. Moreover, judging from the huge amount of effort to open up this space, this race seemed to have a high status in the immortal realm. That clan leader's strength was most likely above Huaxian's. Who knows? He might even be stronger than the 3 great immortal kings, if one had to describe it. Jiangchen thought of Brother Morong from the immortal graveyard overseas. Don't be rash. Among all the spirit beast clans, the dragon clan is much more powerful than our Phoenix clan. Moreover, I'm afraid that there are traps set up by the dragon clan inside this barrier. If you're not careful, you might fall into it. Huafu rushed in front of Jiangchen. You're one of Monarch Qianji's men. Jiangchen rolled his eyes. What do you mean? Huafu didn't understand. How could Jiangchen relate this to the Qianji emperor? I have the art of mechanism. Why would I be afraid of the mechanism here? Jiangchen pointed at his head and said, could it be that Monarch Qianji's understanding of mechanisms is not as good as the experts here? Unless the Dragon Clan's leader is also an immortal emperor, everything is possible. Seeing that Jiangchen was so confident, Huafu was not confident anymore. She was worried that Jiangchen would be in danger because of this. Monarch Qianji was indeed famous for his art of mechanism. However, the immortal realm was incomparably vast. He was not the only one who was proficient in mechanisms. While she and Jiangchen were exploring the space, outside the town, many experts of the western region had gathered here. Just as Bai Xiaoyan said, there were several immortal monarchs and even immortal kings. This group of people stood in front of everyone, looking down on everything. Entry is prohibited here. Mei Qingyu looked at them and said softly, what a joke. There are fluctuations of ancient ruins in the western region of the northern region. We naturally have to come and check it out. But you're not an expert of the western region. How dare you stop us here? A first-layer immortal king stood out. Although his cultivation was not as good as Mei Qingyu's, he could not withstand the many spears of the western region standing behind him. This gave him a lot of confidence. He pointed at Mei Qingyu and sneered. Overseas immortal mountain, Mei Qingyu. Mei Qingyu looked at her and said, today, no one is allowed to enter. If you dare to break in, you'll be opposing our overseas immortal mountain alliance. You should think about the consequences. Then what if we break in? Behind him, 2 immortal kings stood out. Mei Qinyu's expression changed slightly as she glanced at the town without leaving a trace. In the entire town, only the 5 sect masters from the overseas Celestial Mountain stood outside to block them. As for the people from Kunlun Celestial Mountain, they were all at the foot of the mountain. Facing these immortal kings and immortal monarchs, Mei Qingyu knew that she was no match for them. Just when she was about to ask Bai Xiaoyun for help, Bai Xiaoyun's voice sounded in her ears under the influence of immortal qi. Don't stop them. Sect Master Jiang said that it's not worth fighting against all the experts of the western region for an ancient ruin. Mei Qingyu did not hesitate and immediately landed in the town. They're afraid? Ha ha! Let's go and see what's in the ancient ruin. It's said that in our western region, there used to be a race of spiritual beasts called the sky-devouring golden dragon. If it's really them, then we'll definitely be able to earn a lot of benefits from the ancient ruin. Seeing that the 5 sect masters of the overseas immortal mountain had all retreated, these experts immediately laughed loudly. Immediately after, everyone activated their immortal qi and rushed towards the mountain peak where the fluctuation came from. Some of the weaker ones were secretly attacked by some people while they were on their way. For a moment, the whole town was in chaos. Some approached the mountain peak, and some fought with each other. In front of the mountain peak, some experts with strength above immortal monarchs arrived first. They completely ignored Bai Xiaoyun, Xin Yu, and the others who were standing at the side and directly squeezed in. However, after entering, these people were stunned. Where was the space? Where was the ancient ruin? There was only a very small room inside, and there was nothing. As time passed, more and more people gathered outside the barrier. As for the experts inside the barrier room, they were all squeezed into a group. They did not know what was going on, but they could clearly feel the fluctuations of the ancient ruin. 2 hours, 4 hours. In the end, an immortal king accidentally triggered the mechanism, and this group of people stepped into the space. Chapter 1828. In an instant, everyone from the western region rushed in. In less than a few minutes, the outside was empty again. Are we going in? Xian Yu asked worriedly. She was afraid that Huafu alone would not be able to protect Jiangchen. After all, there were several immortal kings and dozens of immortal monarchs in the western region, and they were the first batch to arrive. Perhaps there would be other experts from the western region appearing in the town later. White Immortal King, please lead the sect masters from the overseas immortal mountains to guard the entrance. Xinyu Kunlun Immortal Mountain, and I will go in with the disciples to protect Jiangchen. Hearing Xinyu's words, Wei Yu did not hesitate and immediately said to Bai Xiaoyun, No problem. After you enter, you must be careful. Bai Xiaoyun nodded. After gathering all the disciples from the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, Wei Yu and Xinyu took the lead and entered. The disciples followed closely behind. After a while, everyone disappeared into the spirit barrier entrance. Brother Zhang Yuan, you and the others guard the town. I'll keep an eye here. 12 hours will pass in the blink of an eye. If I sense something strange from inside, we will go in again to check out the situation. Bai Xiaoyun took a deep breath when she saw that there were still many people from the western region fighting in the town. No problem, leave it to me. Zhang Yuan chuckled and changed back to his original form. In a dozen steps, he was outside the town. Like a guardian spirit beast, he carefully looked around the surroundings. The 5 mountain masters from the overseas immortal mountains were also scattered in the town, to prevent these western experts from causing any trouble. In the spirit barrier, sensing the cultivation in the space, Jiang Chun turned his head. Not far away, hundreds of people suddenly rushed in from the entrance where he and Huafu came in. The western region's people are here. Huafu frowned slightly. There are several immortal kings and immortal monarchs here. I'm afraid I can't protect you alone. Try not to get into a conflict with them. Our people are here too. Jiang Chun was about to agree when he suddenly sensed Xian Yu and Wei Yu's cultivation. Hence, the corners of his mouth curled up and he smiled faintly. After this group of people rushed in, they immediately spread out and searched the entire space. Although when they entered the space, there was a vast expanse of darkness, but now there was almost no one in sight. The space was really too big, and there were many buildings and historical sites. There was also a long dried-up river under Jiangchen's feet. He followed the aura. Wei Yu and Xian Yu led the disciples of Kunlun Immortal Mountain here. Where are they? Unable to sense Bai Xiaoyun and Jiangchen's presence, Jiangchen asked. The White Immortal King and a few others are standing guard outside. There are still some who haven't entered yet. It seems like there are some conflicts between them, and they are fighting inside the city. Mystic Moon replied, Senior and Junior brothers, this seems to be the ancient ruins of some dragon clan. There must be a lot of treasures here. Let's spread out. Whoever finds something good can keep it for themselves. But remember, there are many remnants of battle in the ancient ruins. Don't get hurt. Jiang Chen hid from Xian Yu and directly shouted to the dozens of disciples standing behind them. Okay, these people all knew that although Jiang Chen was an ordinary disciple like them, and Jiang Chen was even chased out, the two mountain lords listened to Jiang Chen's orders. Now that Jiang Chen had said so, they became excited. After they agreed, they rushed down. Just like those from the west, they disappeared without a trace in an instant. Are you the mountain lord, or are we the mountain lords? Xian Yu rolled her eyes and asked. It's not easy for them to come in. We can't let them just watch. Moreover, if they can get some benefits from it, it can be considered as indirectly strengthening the strength of our Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Jiang Chen smiled and said, You're not from Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Wei Yu snorted coldly. Don't forget, you were kicked out long ago. We only let you stay in the mountain because of our past relationship. Jiang Chen smiled again and did not say anything. Even Zhou Kunlun was one of his people, who was the real master of Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Okay, don't talk nonsense with the two mountain lords. Huofu pulled Jiang Chen's sleeve and said, Now that the experts of the West have all entered the space, if we don't hurry up, they might take everything away. What's your relationship with Jiang Chen? Xian Yu could no longer bear it. She found that after Jiang Chen returned to Kunlun Immortal Mountain, his relationship with Huofu seemed to have become much closer. At first, she didn't care about it. During this time, Huofu had been following Jiang Chen and could be considered as one of his capable subordinates. But now, she felt more and more that something was wrong. Hearing Xian Yu's words, Jiang Chen immediately turned his head. He really couldn't explain this relationship. He's my young lord. Huofu smiled faintly. Not long ago, Jiang Chen also helped our Bathing Flame Phoenix clan. Speaking of which, he is our clan's great benefactor. Yes, it's like this. Jiang Chen quickly followed Huofu's words. Two mountain lords, let's not waste time here. Huofu is right. If we continue to talk, I'm afraid all the good things will fall into the hands of others. The four of us will act separately. After 12 hours, we'll meet at the boundary gate. After saying these two words, Jiang Chen quickly turned around and left. He really couldn't bear this awkward and strange atmosphere. At the same time, he cursed Huoxian in his heart. If this old thing hadn't set a trap for him, how could he have such a relationship with Huofu? Seeing Jiang Chen leave, Huofu also left. Xian Yu and Wei Yu rushed in the direction where the disciples disappeared. They had to ensure that they could order these disciples at any time so that when Jiang Chen was in danger, they could mobilize them at any time. Who, after getting rid of the three, Jiang Chen went into a town below. Many experts from the western region had already appeared here. They searched one by one, and a few of them even used tools to dig the ground, trying to find if there were treasures buried below. Walking aimlessly in the town, before the experts from the western region appeared, he and Huofu had already understood the situation in this space. In the entire space, apart from the palace at the end, there were a total of 12 towns. It looked like the various tribes of the Bathing Flame Phoenix clan. When Jiang Chen went through the towns and was about to go directly into the palace, he was blocked by a boundary. The person who released this boundary was at least at the 7th level of the Immortal King realm. Jiang Chen knew that with his strength, even if he called by Xiaoyan and the others over, they wouldn't be able to break it. Chapter 1829. The only thing he could do was to call by Xianling and Guhua over. However, Bai Xianling had already said that she would not help him anymore. As for Guhua, they had just met. Even though she had saved him once in the Jade Sword sect, she still did not trust him completely. What if they really came here and coveted the treasures? Therefore, Jiang Chen did not have any interest in the palace. Instead, he placed it in an ordinary town. It would be good if he could get some treasures from here. Kid, there's so many experts here. I heard that there are even immortal kings from the immortal mountains overseas. Why don't we work together and look after each other? If we find something good, we'll split it 50 to 50. How about that? As he was thinking, he walked forward. Suddenly, someone blocked Jiang Chen's path. Not interested. Jiang Chen shook his head. Tisk, so arrogant. The smile on that person's face disappeared. He looked at Jiang Chen with disdain. Those who know you know that you are an immortal. Those who don't know you would think that you are an immortal emperor from your tone. Jiang Chen did not care about this. A mere golden immortal's words were like farts to him. If he was really angry because of these words, then he would be a fool. He turned into a courtyard. Jiang Chen closed the door. For now, no one else was here. One of the main reasons why he came in was because he felt a familiar wave of energy here. Dade? Other than Long Dade, Jiang Chen could not think of anyone else in the ancient ruins of the Dragon Clan. The courtyard was huge. Jiang Chen walked in and was almost hurt by the residual power. After walking around the complicated courtyard, Jiang Chen pushed open the door. Seeing that the interior was still very new, he could not help but feel a little emotional. Just like the immortal graveyard overseas, this place had experienced a great war that destroyed the heavens. Even Jiang Chen was very emotional that a Dragon Clan leader with a cultivation of Immortal King 7th or 8th heaven could be reduced to such a state. He even wondered what was going on. After all, based on Jiang Chen's current understanding of this race, it wasn't any weaker than the 10,000 creations Immortal School in the past. Unless it was the 3 great Immortal Kings, who were among the apex experts of the Immortal Realm, who attacked together, it was impossible for anyone to possess such strength. It should be the residence of the tribe leader, right? Jiang Chen muttered to himself as he looked at the huge, majestic portrait hanging on the wall. Following the aura, Jiang Chen walked towards the back of the room. When he reached out to push open the door, he suddenly heard a slight noise. Jiang Chen instinctively dodged to the side. Swish! Several tiny cold needles, invisible to the naked eye, attacked. She wiped it across Jiang Chen's scalp. Jiang Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. If he hadn't reacted in time, this thing would have pierced into his body. Just based on the intense energy attached to it, if it were to explode in his body, he would definitely be injured. After stabilizing himself, Jiang Chen carefully made his way inside. All the mechanisms were shot out, but with the Emperor Qianji's mechanism technique, Jiang Chen knew how to avoid them as soon as they were triggered. Dragon Scale? After squatting down to avoid the last mechanism, Jiang Chen was just about to rest for a while when he suddenly saw a sparkling piece of crystal not far in front of him. The familiar aura that he sensed spread out from it. The ancestral dragon scale. Jiang Chen stepped forward and picked up the dragon scale to observe for a while. This scale was exactly the same as the one on Long Dade's body. But then, Jiang Chen couldn't help but laugh out loud. When others ascended, they would ascend to their sects or clans. In other words, they would ascend to any place in the immortal world. However, Long Dade had actually arrived at a sealed ancient site. If Mo Wuji hadn't suddenly arrived here, Long Dade might not have been able to get out for the rest of his life. Dade, where are you? Come out quickly, don't hide. After keeping the dragon scale in his storage ring, Jiang Chen shouted loudly. I'm here. An unfamiliar voice sounded from inside the room. A completely unfamiliar half-step, immortal monarch realm expert from the western region appeared in front of Jiang Chen. He pointed at Jiang Chen's finger and said, "Give me the thing you just put away. Otherwise, I won't let you leave here alive." How troublesome. Jiang Chen frowned slightly and couldn't help but sigh. Kid, you're only at the 3rd level of the immortal realm. You're nothing in front of me. There are many good things in this space. You don't have to lose your life for one of them. That person stared at Jiang Chen. He also came in by chance. When he heard the sound of a hidden weapon being triggered, he slowly crept over. As soon as he entered the room, he saw Jiang Chen putting away a shiny golden object. Although he wasn't sure if it was good or not, he was more powerful than Jiang Chen. Get out of my sight before I get angry. Otherwise, don't blame me for making you stay here forever. Jiang Chen was thinking about where Long Dade would be in this space. After being interrupted by this person, he wanted to kill him. No one would care if he killed someone here, and he wouldn't get into trouble because of it. Your cultivation is not high, but you talk big. That person was enraged. He took out a big saber from his storage ring and waved it twice. Even the space was almost cut open. Soul Saber Sect, Hun Sheng. Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless people. Hun Sheng looked at Jiang Chun. His aura merged with his long saber. I've heard of sword cultivators, but I've never heard of saber cultivators. The immortal world is really an eye-opener for me. Seeing Han Sheng holding a saber that was almost bigger than his body, Jiang Chun was amused. He shook his head and sighed. Kid, don't mock me. Han Sheng felt like slapping him in the face. It was unbearable. 10,000 mounts immortal sect, Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes, and a 7-colored longsword gradually appeared in his hand. You're the young master of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect who just ascended? Upon hearing Jiang Chen's identity, Han Sheng's eyes lit up. Everyone knew that the young master of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect had just returned to the immortal world. If he killed Jiang Chen here today, the Soul Saber sect would become famous in the immortal world in the future. Maybe even the 3 immortal kings would offer him an olive branch. Thinking about it, Han Sheng fell into a fantasy. He didn't like Xian Jun very much because this person was too ostentatious. Although sword cultivators and saber cultivators were of the same origin, they both looked down on each other. Han Sheng decided that if the 3 immortal kings really came to recruit him, he would definitely choose the other 2. Are you waiting for death? Seeing him standing still, Jiang Chen didn't talk about martial virtues. What he should do was to kill this person as soon as possible, and then search for treasures and long date in the space. Chapter 1830. Jiang Chen's fierce aura woke him up instantly. As he looked up, Jiang Chen's figure had already appeared above his head. The 7-colored long sword, mixed with fierce sword chi, stabbed toward his head. Jiang Chen, don't blame me. Only by killing you can I become famous in the immortal realm. You can only blame yourself for being unlucky to have met me. Han Sheng hurriedly brandished the large saber in his hand. With the support of 7 different immortal powers, even though his cultivation was at the half-step immortal duke realm, it was still very difficult for him to resist. His feet even sank deep into the floor. You're indeed Wan Cheng's son. You're really something. Han Sheng was a little surprised. He slapped the saber with his other hand. Then, a stronger immortal force spread out from his body and gathered in the large saber. His arm strangely went through the saber. He clenched his fist and smashed it toward Jiang Chen's head. What kind of messy ability is that? Jiang Chen frowned. Although he was surprised, he was not very surprised. After all, there were all kinds of strange things in the immortal realm. It was normal for there to be such an immortal technique. Jiang Chen tilted his head to dodge the attack and changed the seal in his hand. Then, Han Sheng suddenly felt that his feet, which were stuck in the floor, were being dragged in by a pair of big hands. Before he could react, the lower half of his body had completely sunk in. Even half of his immortal force was sealed. Just as he was surprised, 2 vines rose from the floor and wrapped around his arms. Clang! The large saber fell to the side. Han Sheng looked at Jiang Chen with fear in his eyes. He did not expect that the young sect master of the 10,000 Creations immortal sect, who was only at the 3rd level immortal realm, would be so strong. Although he had underestimated his opponent, Jiang Chen had indeed defeated him. What sect are you from? Jiang Chen stabbed the long sword in front of Han Sheng and asked while rubbing his forehead. Soul Saber sect, Han Sheng said while gritting his teeth. Oh right, the Soul Saber sect. Jiang Chen nodded seriously, then smiled embarrassedly. I'm really sorry, your sect's reputation is too small, so I didn't remember it. Let me go if you dare. Han Sheng struggled with all his might. He realized that the immortal energy in his body could not be mobilized at all, and he could not move at all. He was now completely trapped in Jiang Chen's immortal technique. Other than speaking, the only thing he could do was wait for death. Han Sheng, right? Jiang Chen placed the 7-colored sword on his back and stepped on his head. Since you want to use your strength to threaten me and obtain the item in my hands, then you will have to pay the price. Jiang Chen stomped on him hard so that he would sink even deeper. He said, "After 5 months, my immortal method will be undone. Go back and take your sex people to the heavenly mystery pavilion to look for me. Didn't you want to kill me and make a name for yourself in the immortal world? I'll give you one more chance. Cherish it." Suffering great humiliation, Han Sheng's expression became distorted. He had never been treated like this in his life. He secretly swore that as long as he could get out of here alive, he would tell the sect leader and bring his senior and junior brothers to the divination pavilion for revenge. "Let's go. We'll meet again in the future." Jiang Chen put down his foot, reached out and patted Han Sheng's head, then turned and walked out of the room. From the China sect to the divination pavilion, from the divination pavilion to the Kunlun celestial mountain, and now to the western part of the northern region, Jiang Chen's heart gradually became clear. The divination pavilion and the Kunlun celestial mountain were not his final destination. He only had one sect, which was the former 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Jiang Chen wanted the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect to reappear in the immortal world and restore its former glory. He even wanted to lead the sect to a height that even his father could not reach. The Kunlun celestial mountain and the China sect would be included in the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. As for the divination pavilion, Jiang Chen would not take away by Xuanling sect. But with his mother there, these two sects would be integrated into one, sharing honor and disgrace. When Jiang Chen told Han Sheng that he was the young sect leader of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, he was ready to accept the provocation of the immortal world. Until Jiang Chen left the room, Han Sheng was still struggling. He really could not understand why Jiang Chen, who was only at the 3rd stage of the immortal realm, could use such a powerful immortal technique. However, no matter what method Han Sheng used, it was useless. After leaving the courtyard, Jiang Chen continued to search. The dragon scale was here, which meant that Long Dade must also be in the space. Thinking that the people he knew in the mortal world had ascended one after another, Jiang Chen's heart gradually cleared. With them, it was not impossible to restore the glory of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. As more and more people poured in, almost every town was filled with people. There were also many cultivators going in and out of those courtyards. Jiang Chen frowned slightly. He did not want to join in the fun. Jiang Chen did not find anything good in the courtyard just now. But if he could find Long Dade, he might be able to find something good since he had lived here for so long. Walking along the front of the town, Jiang Chen saw many people fighting over little things. He could not help but shake his head and sneer. About the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Jiang Chen had left those towns far behind. And the immortal Lingwei in front of him let him know that this was the place where the Dragon Clan fought. Could it be that Long Dade is here? Jiang Chen was a little surprised. He felt Long Dade's aura here. Although it was a little weak, it was not the feeling that the dragon scale gave him. Quickening his pace, Jiang Chen walked inside. Here, Jiang Chen saw the broken walls and the bones on the ground. He also felt a very strong resentment. Although this place was also in the space, due to the strong residual power and the heavy yin qi, it was faintly separated from the outside world. Frowning slightly, Jiang Chen lifted his foot and stepped in. Damn, I finally found a living person who dares to come in. Who would have thought that as soon as he entered, he would hear an extremely excited voice from inside. Before he could raise his head, a long spear suddenly appeared in front of Jiang Chen. "Ha!" he shouted in a low voice. The shadow of the phoenix instantly appeared behind him. His wings bent forward, protecting Jiang Chen, and the attack of the long spear came down. "Oh, it's actually someone from the Phoenix clan?" That person was a little surprised, and then became even more excited. The long spear in his hand whistled, and even some of the remaining immortal power here was sucked to the tip of the spear. Chapter 1831. I'm so unlucky. Jiang Chen cursed under his breath. He regretted barging in so recklessly. Not only was there a lingering aura and resentment, but there was also a lunatic. In here, he could not unleash his true strength. Taking 2 steps back, Jiang Chen prepared to leave this place. When he found Xin Yu, Wei Yu, and the rest, he would enter together to see who could actually survive in this space. Jiangchen, however, just as Jiangchen was speaking, the other party suddenly threw the spear in his hand to the ground. "Are you the Bay deity?" Jiangchen heard a familiar voice. Unfortunately, the resentment was too strong. He could not spread out his perception and could not see clearly in the darkness. It's me, Long Dade." The other party's voice suddenly became agitated. Following that, the black figure ran over and threw himself into Jiangchen's arms, crying loudly. "When I was in the lower realm, I was the famous ancestral dragon. Who would have thought that my luck would be so bad that I would ascend to such a place? If this news were to spread, my reputation would be ruined." After ascending to the immortal realm, Long Dade had transformed back into his human form. He was about 16 or 17 years old and had a handsome appearance. However, there was a bulge on both sides of his forehead. "Ha!" Hearing this, Jiangchen could not help but laugh at him. "You dare to laugh at me?" Long Dade flew into a rage and picked up the spear on the ground. Jiangchen quickly waved his hand. He was afraid that this kid would really lose his mind. In this place, he was afraid that he would not be a match for him. What about the other Bay deities? Have they reached the immortal realm? "I don't know." Long Dade sat on a rock at the side. "Fine, you're enough." Jiangchen patted his shoulder. After all, he was the first one to sign the contract. As for the other Bay deities, it would be best if they could find them. If not, he would not force them. Living such a comfortable life in the lower realm, only someone with a brain would ascend to the upper realm. When this thought appeared in Jiangchen's mind, he raised his head and looked at Long Dade. "Jiangchen, how did you get in here?" Long Dade raised his head. He really didn't expect to meet someone familiar when he was so desperate that he wanted to commit suicide. It was a coincidence. Jiangchen smacked his lips and said, "Since you can come in, you can definitely come out again." Long Dadila grabbed Jiangchen's arm. "Ever since I came to the immortal realm, I've been sensing something. It's as if the dragons in the immortal realm have sensed my existence, but I'm trapped here and can't leave. Bring me out. I want to go to the immortal plains dragon race to broaden my horizons." Of course, it's not a problem to bring them out, but Jiangchen suddenly smiled. Then, under Long Dade's confused gaze, he reached out and pressed his hand on his forehead. "We have to sign a new contract. F***CK. Feeling the strangeness in the depths of his soul, Long Dade couldn't help but wail. He had been bound by Jiangchen in the lower realm for so long. When he finally ascended to the immortal realm, he was first trapped in this broken place for so long. Just when he saw the hope of leaving, Jiangchen made him sign a contract. This time, he probably wouldn't be able to break free from it for tens of thousands of years. "Are you familiar with this place?" Jiangchen smiled in satisfaction. From now on, he had a mount in the immortal realm. In the future, he didn't need to use his immortal power to travel. Instead, he could sit on Long Dade's back and sleep. "I'm familiar with it." Long Dade nodded. "That's great." Jiangchen pulled his arm and walked out. He pointed to the hall in the distance and asked, "Think of a way. Let's go through that barrier and see if there are any good treasures inside." Long Dade sucked the spear out. This was the treasure he had obtained here. He couldn't lose it. "Where is it?" "I slept in there last night." Who would have thought that Long Dade would look at it in disdain? "The things inside are already in my hands." "Oh." Jiangchen looked at him. "Let me show you." Long Dade took out the storage ring in his hand and handed it to Jiangchen. Jiangchen took a look at it and curled his lips into a smile. It was filled with pills and immortal techniques. Jiangchen even saw some tables and chairs. He even saw a few beds. "Good fellow, did you empty it all?" Jiangchen looked at him in satisfaction. This kid's character was still as outstanding as before. "No, I just searched a little and prepared some things. Otherwise, when I leave this place one day, I won't even have a place to sleep." Long Dade shook his head and immediately snatched the storage ring back. "Let's go. Can you bring me in to take a look?" Jiangchen directly brought him to the palace. "It shouldn't be a problem. You're my master now. If I can enter, you can naturally enter too." Long Dade jogged after him. This familiar feeling, although it restricted his freedom, made him feel very familiar. It was as if he was still in the lower realm. After a full 10 minutes, Jiang Chun finally stood under the enchantment. There was no one here. The experts in the West must have sensed the situation here. Since they couldn't enter, they might as well not waste time here. This way. Long Dade stood in front of the enchantment for a while. Then he took 2 steps to the left and directly entered the enchantment. Jiang Chun also took a step forward. He entered the room smoothly. In front of the palace, it could only be described as majestic. Compared to the ruins outside, the palace was not affected at all. Presumably, when the war broke out, the clan leader directly used the enchantment to protect the palace from being damaged. On the stairs leading to the palace's gate, Jiang Chun saw a string of dried blood. The blood had corroded the stone bricks. However, it was too old. The blood had already turned dark red. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it. Long Dade walked in. Seeing that Jiang Chun was still standing there, he quickly turned around and asked, "What are you standing there for?" "It's nothing." Jiang Chun stopped thinking and followed her quickly. After walking in through the 10-meter-tall palace door, they were greeted by a magnificent hall. It was even wider than the training platform of the Divine Secrets Pavilion. Perhaps it's because I'm the ancestral dragon, so I wasn't stopped when I entered. However, I've been everywhere except for a stone door at the back of the hall. I couldn't push it no matter how hard I tried. Long Dade casually sat on a chair and explained the situation. "What stone door?" Jiang Chun was curious. Chapter 1832. "It's behind." Long Dade pointed towards the palace. "But I don't think there's anything good. Plus, I've already gotten quite a lot." "I'll go take a look." Jiang Chun followed Long Dade's direction. Now, almost everything valuable in the palace had been taken by Long Dade. If he didn't explore it, he would have come for nothing. How can you enter a place that even I, the ancestral dragon, can't open? Seeing that Jiang Chun didn't believe him, Long Dade couldn't help but mock him. Before he could laugh, he suddenly felt a splitting headache. It was as if someone was pulling on his dragon horns and trying to break his head in half. I was wrong. Long Dade forgot that he had signed a new contract with Jiang Chun. If he wanted to, he would be punished. "Show me some respect." Jiang Chun snorted. After the pain disappeared, Long Dade wiped the sweat off his face and let out a sigh of relief. Walking into the palace, Jiang Chun saw the stone door that Long Dade was talking about. "Long Dade, come here." Jiang Chun didn't dare to push it. He wasn't from the dragon tribe. If something happened, Long Dade might not be able to save him. "Coming." Long Dade came over immediately. "Let me borrow your hand." Jiang Chun grabbed his wrist and pressed it against the stone door. Then he pushed it down. The stone door didn't move. "I told you, this stone door can't be opened. But since you can come here once, we can come back and push it open again." Long Dade looked at his pale hand and quickly retracted it. "We might need an opportunity." Jiang Chun was a little disappointed. "Let's search again. There are still many good things here. If it doesn't work, I'll give you half of what I have." Long Dade saw that Jiang Chun was a little down. He quickly took off his storage ring and stuffed it into Jiang Chun's hand. "No need." Jiang Chun shook his head and said, Let's go. Let's go somewhere else. Even though I've been here for a while, I haven't even been to a third of the place. There must be other treasures in such a big palace." Long Dade forcefully dragged Jiang Chun out. Jiang Chun didn't say anything and just followed behind him. As soon as he left, the stone door suddenly trembled, and some of the pebbles on it fell to the ground. From within the stone door, a frail and weathered voice sounded. "This aura is extremely similar to her. Could it be that her descendants have come?" The sound dissipated, and the stone door stopped shaking. However, in the darkness inside, something seemed to be gradually awakening. 6 hours passed. Jiang Chun did find a lot of good things in the palace. Within the space, those towns were almost completely wiped out by the people of the western region and the disciples of the Kunlun Immortal. Even the people who came in later couldn't find anything. "Where's Jiang Chun? Did you guys see him?" Xin Yu and Wei Yu gathered all the disciples together. The two of them hadn't sensed Jiang Chun's aura for a long time. No! These disciples had obtained a lot of good things, but after hearing the two mountain masters' words, they all fell silent. They understood that Jiang Chun might have encountered something again. Huafu, where's Jiang Chun? After a while, Xin Yu saw that Huafu had also arrived. She couldn't be bothered to be jealous of her and hurriedly asked, I don't know. Didn't Jiang Chun say that we should split up? Huafu shook her head. She deliberately distanced herself from Jiang Chun so that Xin Yu wouldn't be hostile to her. However, when she heard this question, she suddenly felt that something was wrong. Hence, she hurriedly spread out her immortal power. However, she didn't sense Jiang Chun in the space. Could it be that he went out? Huafu frowned slightly. She knew that with Jiang Chun's strength, even if there was an immortal king here, it was impossible for him to be killed without anyone noticing. Moreover, she didn't even sense the slightest fluctuation of Jiang Chun's cultivation. With his character, he definitely won't go out until the last moment. Xin Yu shook her head. Could it be? Wei Yu's whole body trembled. She immediately rose into the air and carefully looked at every corner of the space. She was worried that the sect master of the Black Sect might take advantage of the chaos to come here to deal with Jiang Chun. If that was the case, then Jiang Chun was afraid. All disciples, listen up. Go and find Jiang Chun immediately. Whoever can find him will be promoted to an inner disciple as an outer disciple. As an inner disciple, come to me directly to get a top immortal technique. Without thinking too much, Xin Yu immediately gave the order. All the disciples nodded at the same time and scattered in the space. Seeing the Kunlun immortal mountain as if facing a great enemy, Huafu opened her mouth slightly and said in disbelief, No way, Jiang Chun will really be in danger. Huafu, please go and look for him. Xin Yu rushed in front of Huafu. Okay, I'll go. Huafu nodded gently, but she was muttering in her heart. Jiang Chun had clearly said that the sect master of the Black Sect would no longer target him. Even though subsects had given up, how could he come here personally to take action? Moreover, when Jiang Chun was forced to the point of almost dying in battle by Hui Yuanba, Bai Xiaoyan helped him in time. This time, she might not sit back and do nothing. Inside the palace, Jiang Chun had taken out all the things he could get. Fortunately, he had asked Wei Dashuan for a new storage ring. Otherwise, he could only look at these things and couldn't take them away. There are still 2 hours left. We should go out. After calculating the time and thinking that there was nowhere to go, Jiang Chun prepared to bring Long Date out. After we go out, I want to go to the Immortal World's Dragon Clan to take a look. Long Date nodded and followed behind Jiang Chun. Suddenly, a throbbing came from behind the hall. Jiang Chun's foot stopped in midair. Do you feel it? After sensing it carefully, that throbbing was still there. Jiang Chun turned his head and asked, I am a dragon. If you can feel it, of course I can too. Long Dade looked weakly at Jiang Chun. The two of them did not hesitate and directly returned to the stone door inside. The throbbing came from inside. Could it be that there is some treasure inside that knows that I, the ancestral dragon, am leaving and specially wants me to stay? Long Dade frowned, holding the spear with one hand, and analyzed. But this place is even worse than a place where rabbits don't shit. If it's really here, I might as well go back to the lower realm. Long Dade was in a dilemma. The stone door suddenly opened. Chapter 1833. That wave of energy spread out even more clearly. I'll go in first. Long Dade scratched his head and prepared to step in. At the same time, he said helplessly, as a dragon, this is the worst thing. Sometimes, when I don't want something, others have to give it to me. What a headache. However, as soon as he stepped in, his entire body flew backwards. Pa! Long Dade fell to the wall and slid to the ground. Are you all right? Jiang Chun hurriedly went forward to help him up, at the same time frowning as he looked in. If anyone dared to hurt his people, no matter who was inside, he would not let them off easily. With this glance, Jiang Chun was directly sucked in. What's going on? Long Dade sat up and was about to chase after him when the stone door suddenly closed. It's over. Long Dade's expression immediately turned ugly. When he was hit just now, he felt that there seemed to be a very strong rancor inside. If Jiang Chun went in, he would not be a match for the other party at all. And if Jiang Chun died, then he would also die. In Long Dade's life, he had never regretted it as much as he did now. After ascending here, he had lived in pain for a period of time. It was not easy for him to see the light of hope, but then he was signed by Jiang Chun and lost his freedom. Now that he did not even know if Jiang Chun was alive or dead, it was very likely that he would lose his life as well. Sitting on the ground dispiritedly, Long Dade waited for his fate to arrive. Inside the stone door, after Jiang Chun was sucked in, he was in the darkness. Looking around, he couldn't see anything clearly. He couldn't sense anything. He couldn't even see the hand that was stretched out. "Which senior is it?" Jiang Chun took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice. "Your body. There's a trace of her feeling. Speak. What is your relationship?" In the darkness, an old and hoarse voice sounded, as if it had traveled back from hundreds of thousands of years ago. "Who is this she you're talking about?" Jiang Chun was confused. "Are you her descendant?" That person did not seem to hear Jiang Chun's words at all and continued to speak. "Who is it?" Jiang Chun felt a little helpless. If it weren't for the fact that this person was a little strong, he wouldn't have bothered with him at all. He would have turned around and left long ago. "Come to me and let me see you." A path gradually appeared in front of Jiang Chun. "Dragon spine?" Jiang Chun lowered his head to take a look. This was not a path at all. Instead, it was the back of a dragon, and the scales on it could be seen. After walking along the dragon's spine for about 10 minutes, the darkness finally dissipated. Jiang Chun could finally see what was in front of him. A throne stood in the middle of the barren land. An old man with a weak aura was sitting at the top, as if he would disappear at any moment. However, his aura did not belong to the celestial kings of the celestial sex in the slightest. In fact, with every breath he took, it was as if the entire world was about to stop. I can't remember whether it's been tens of thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. "I finally met someone." The old man looked down. His voice was filled with emotion and excitement. "Are you the patriarch of this clan?" Jiang Chun looked at him and asked. "Yes, I'm the patriarch of the sky-devouring Golden Dragon clan. However, this clan should have been extinct by now." The old man let out a long sigh. Endless sadness spread out from his body. "What a vulgar name." Jiang Chun couldn't help but complain in a low voice. "Although the name is vulgar, back then, we were also famous experts in the northern region. Unfortunately, after that battle, our clan completely disappeared from the celestial world, leaving only an afterimage of me." The old man's throne gradually landed in front of Jiang Chun. "Sir, do you have any obsession?" Jiang Chun cupped his hands and asked. "It's not really an obsession. I just feel a little familiar from your aura, so I want to ask if she's doing well now." The old man raised his arm with great effort and shook it. "Who exactly is she?" Jiang Chun was a little crazy. Had this old man stayed in the void for too long that his brain had gone stupid? He didn't even tell him whether it was a man or a woman, nor did he mention any symbols. How would he know who he was talking about? "I almost forgot." The old man seemed to be recalling, but soon shook his head. This time, Jiang Chun was completely speechless. However, based on his past experience, this was often the time to profit. Since the old man thought that he was related to that person, he might as well go with the flow. "Sir, I do know her. Is there anything you need me to teach her?" Jiang Chun stood straight and bowed to him. "This afterimage of mine is about to dissipate. You have the bloodline of the Phoenix clan in your body. For her sake, I'll give you an opportunity. I hope you can obtain the power of the bloodline of the sky-devouring Golden Dragon clan. Then, you'll have the chance to become a true expert." The old man waved his hand, and golden light scattered around Jiang Chun's body. Immediately, these rays of light gradually entered Jiang Chun's body. This process may take as long as 1,000 years, but don't worry, I'll be here watching over you until your body completely fuses with it. Only then will I disappear. The old man was completely drained of all his strength. He lay on the throne, panting heavily. "You tricked me." Jiang Chun was quite happy at first, but now his face fell. 1,000 years. If he was trapped here for 1,000 years, the outside world would have changed a long time ago. "Old mister, can I refuse this thing?" Jiang Chun took a deep breath. He was going to refuse the old man's kindness. before he could finish his words. The golden light directly fused into Jiang Qin's blood without any obstruction. Roar! A dragon's roar came from Jiang Qin's body. Then, a huge shadow of a seven-colored phoenix and a golden dragon appeared behind Jiang Qin. They rose into the darkness and dispersed the darkness around Jiang Qin. Sure enough, it seems that my perception ability has completely disappeared. You're actually her son. The old man naturally knew that Jiang Qin was the same. After realizing that Jiang Qin could fuse with the power of their sky-swallowing golden dragon's bloodline without any hindrance, he laughed excitedly. Are you talking about my mother? Not until then did Jiang Qin come to himself. Yes, except for her child, no one can do this so easily. After hundreds of thousands of years, I can still meet her descendant. The old man was so excited that tears flowed down his face. He stretched his hand behind him, took out a wooden plate, and handed it to Jiang Qin. This again? Jiang Qin was intoxicated by the emotion of missing his mother. After seeing the thing in the old man's hand, he thought of Emperor Qianji's cheap face. This thing, the old man rubbed the wooden plate with both hands, as if he was very reluctant to part with it. Seeing that he was struggling to speak, Jiang Qin said directly, "This thing is the key to finding my mother, right?" Chapter 1834. Yes and no. The old man shook his head, his voice getting lower and lower as if he was about to die. What do you mean? Jiang Qin asked hurriedly. Back then, Emperor Qianji had been vague, and he didn't get any useful information. Old mister, you must hold on. It's only if you tell me everything you know that I will have a chance to find my mother. We, the sky-devouring golden dragons, are a race under your mother. This wooden token was left to you by your mother. She gave it to me, MON, for safekeeping. There are several forces under her, and several forces that are close to her. When all the wooden tokens are gathered, you will be able to find your mother's specific location in the vast wilderness. However, too much time has passed. Your mother may have left the vast wilderness long ago. The old man reached out to press his chest. Every time he spoke, he would take a few deep breaths. I see. Jiang Qin finally figured out the function of this thing. It was not much different from what he had guessed before. I can only give you this much. If you meet her, please help me pass a message to her. The old man's figure began to dissipate, and the throne gradually collapsed. What message? Jiang Qin felt a lump in his throat. He did not expect that after the destruction of the sect, this old man still had a wisp of remnant consciousness, waiting for his mother's descendant. This kind of admirable and tragic loyalty was really hard to find. Help me tell your mother to stay away from Wancheng. This person is really not worthy of her. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man completely dissipated in front of Jiang Qin with unwillingness. All of a sudden, an illusory figure shot out from his body. Could it be that the shadow was about middle-aged, burly, with a determined face, exuding the aura of a superior? It looked at Jiang Qin, left a smile, and swept into the depths of the darkness. Phew! Jiang Qin exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The throne disappeared, and so did the old man. He could not even sense his aura. This kind of powerhouse had completely disappeared from the immortal world. However, after regaining his senses, Jiang Qin hurriedly walked out. The good impression he had of the old man disappeared without a trace. Was Wancheng really that unbearable? Everyone he met who knew his mother was full of hostility towards his father. Although his cultivation was not as good as his mother's, he was still one of the most famous immortal monarchs in the immortal world. Back then, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was barely destroyed by the combined efforts of 3 immortal kings. This kind of strength was well known in the entire immortal world. Father, oh father, do you think that our 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was destroyed because of my mother? Jiang Qin couldn't help but mutter as he walked outside. 3 great immortal kings, Xianjun and Gu, who did not know. However, Bai Xianling was an avid fan. In order to find the whereabouts of his mother, he had actually disregarded the divination pavilion and plunged straight into an unknown territory. Even the sect master of the overseas immortal mountain had thought that he had died in the sect. Compared to Jiang Qin's current relaxed state, inside the space, it could be said that the sky had exploded. There was less than half an hour left before the space would close. The people from the western region had also obtained what they were satisfied with and gradually left. In the entire space, only the people from Kunlun Immortal Mountain were left. Everyone had searched almost every place in the space, but they still couldn't find Jiang Qin's figure. They couldn't even sense his aura. At this moment, a figure floated out from a courtyard, holding a long saber in his hand. This person was Han Sheng, who had been sealed by Jiang Qin. He had struggled for several hours and was finally able to come out when Jiang Qin's seal ended. Could it be that he really met with misfortune? Even Huafu felt a little uneasy. Time flew by. The torn space had already shown signs of healing. Helplessly, Xin Yu and Wei Yu had to leave with their disciples. They really wanted to wait here. If Jiang Qin really didn't come out, they would continue to search inside. However, with the identity of the Mountain Master, they really couldn't do that. If they really stayed inside, unless Bai Xiaoyan and the others tore open the enchantment again, there would definitely be a huge change in the sect in 500 years. Huafu, are you going to wait inside? Seeing that Huafu was still standing there, Xin Yu hurriedly said, if the enchantment closes, it will be difficult to tear it open again. You will have to wait for 500 years before you can get out. I want to find him. Huafu no longer pretended in front of Xin Yu and directly said what was in her heart. Maybe Jiang Qin left without us knowing. Or maybe... Xin Yu choked halfway. She knew that if Jiang Qin didn't come out before the enchantment closed, most likely, wait a little longer. Huafu followed them to the entrance of the enchantment, her eyes constantly scanning the space. In the end, the seal of the enchantment reconnected. A second ago, Bai Xiaoyan reached her hand in and pulled Fire Lotus out. The experts in the West had already disappeared. Only Bai Xiaoyan and the others were standing outside. Huafu was about to speak when Bai Xiaoyan interrupted her. I already know what's going on inside. No matter what happens to Jiang Qin, it's his own fate. Bai Xiaoyan's voice was calm. She knew that her master had always been concerned about Jiang Qin's safety. Furthermore, with the 10 Directions divination, she would definitely be able to predict Jiang Qin's current situation. Her master wasn't here. Either Jiang Qin wasn't in danger, or was fated. Then, the sect masters of the overseas immortal mountains knew what was going on. They looked at one another. Let's wait a little longer. Bai Xiaoyan took in a deep breath and looked at the mountain peak before her. No one continued to speak, and they just waited quietly. But what they didn't expect was that Jiang Qin was in the middle of his journey. When he entered, he was sucked in by the old man. In a flash, he was under the throne. But now that the old man had disappeared completely, when he wanted to come out, he realized that something was wrong. I don't want to stay here for 500 years. Even if it's a female dragon, I can still accept it. Jiang Qin urged the immortal power in his body and rushed towards the door. When he reached the stone door, it was already an hour later. After calculating the time, Jiang Qin's expression froze. 12 hours had already passed, and he was still in the space. F***CK. Jiang Qin cursed. No matter how hard he tried, he was still trapped inside. Easily pushing open the stone door, Jiang Qin saw Long Dade sitting outside. Don't just stand there. Let's get out quickly. Didn't you say that we only have 12 hours? There's only 10 minutes left. If we're fast enough, we can still get out. Long Dade transformed into his original form and gestured for Jiang Qin to sit on his back. Chapter 1835. You started counting from the moment I saw you. Before I met you, I had already been wandering around the space for 2 hours. Jiang Qin shrugged his shoulders and sat on Long Dade's back. Lying down, he said, looks like we'll have to rely on each other for the next 500 years. I'll return this to you. Jiang Qin took out the dragon scale from his storage ring and pressed it on Long Dade's body. What if we can get out? Long Dade believed Jiang Qin's words. However, he was tired of staying here. Even if there was no other way, he would only give up after taking a look. Go. Jiang Qin closed his eyes. He started to comfort himself. 500 years was neither long nor short. He could make use of this opportunity to comprehend all the immortal techniques that Emperor Qianji gave him. In fact, Long Dade could even make use of the remaining power. Now that he had the bloodline of the dragon race, he wondered if he could absorb it into his body and use it for himself. Perhaps his cultivation would reach a terrifying level. Jiang Chun was sure that when he went out again in 500 years, it would be completely different from what it was now. Long Dade's speed was very fast. The dragon scale that Jiang Chun pressed on was already blown away by the wind. Seeing the sparkling dragon scale fall, Jiang Chun could not help but sigh. If this thing was sold, it could be sold for a few 100 million immortal jade. In less than 10 minutes, Long Dade arrived at the entrance of the barrier. Jiang Chun flipped down from his body and walked over. He knew that Bai Xiaoyun and the rest were definitely waiting outside. If they did not see him, they would not leave easily. However, he could not get out now. Jiang Chun placed his hand on the barrier and prepared to bid farewell to them. After placing his hand on it, Jiang Chun relaxed his body and prepared to rest. He thought that the barrier would be very sturdy. Who would have thought that when he pressed on it, Jiang Chun's hand would directly pass through it and his body would fall outside? F***CK, what's going on? Jiang Chun cursed as he stood up and looked up. He found that Bai Xiaoyun, Huafu, and the others, as well as the sect masters of the Overseas Immortal Mountain and the hundreds of disciples of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, were all stunned. Wasn't the barrier closed? Bai Xiaoyun looked at Jiang Chun in a daze. Eldest senior brother, your timing is not accurate at all. I almost thought that I was going to be trapped inside. Jiang Chun patted the dirt off his body and stood up. After saying that, he reached in and pulled the defenseless Long Dade out. Take a look. Is the barrier sealed? Jiang Chun had a helpless look on his face. If it wasn't for Long Dade, he would have had to live in there for 500 years. Seeing so many people outside, Long Dade shivered in fright and quickly reverted to his original appearance. Bai Xiaoyun stepped forward and, like Jiang Chun, reached out to touch the barrier. But in the next second, his face turned pale and he immediately retracted his hand. The powerful, immortal force made his arm numb. Are you serious? Jiang Chun rolled his eyes at him and reached out his hand again. Jiang Chun's hand passed through the barrier without any hindrance and then retracted. Did you encounter some fortuitous encounter inside? Bai Xiaoyun suddenly reacted, especially when he saw Jiang Chun reach out and pull out a dragon. This confirmed his thoughts. Could it be because of the power of the sky-swallowing golden dragon bloodline in my body? Jiang Chun also felt that Bai Xiaoyun would not lie to him. The power of the dragon bloodline? Everyone was shocked. Among them, Huafu was even more shocked. A cultivator with both the power of the phoenix and the power of the dragon in his body meant that he could learn all the cultivation methods and immortal skills of the Beast Clan. When he entered the immortal Emperor realm, he could even summon all the Beast Clans in the world. Even his father, Huaxian, who was a 7th-level immortal king, could not escape. Yes, it was because of this that I was delayed. Jiang Chun scratched his head, then pointed to Long Dade and said, "This is my friend, Long Dade. Who would have thought that he would directly ascend here? Fortunately, I brought him out." Long Dade turned his head and glanced at Jiang Chun. He did not expect Jiang Chun to introduce him in front of so many people. "It's good that you're out. It's good that you're out." Bai Xiaoyun patted Jiang Chun's shoulder excitedly. Xin Yu and Huafu wanted to rush up and hug him, but when they thought of each other, they restrained themselves. "Where's Zhu Zhong?" Jiang Chun glanced around and asked. "He's with Hushua. I asked Zhang Yuan to take him away." Bai Xiaoyun replied, "Many experts from the western region have been attracted here. I'm afraid that there will be enemies among them. I'll take advantage of the chaos to get rid of them. Let's go see him and then return to Kunlun Mountain." Jiang Chun waved his hand. In the guest hall, Zhu Zhong did not have a good time in the past 12 hours. He was worried that Jiang Chun would not get any benefits in the ancient ruins and would blame him. When the experts from the western region came, he was afraid that Jiang Chun would be in danger. Bai Xiaoyun and the others would not let him go. "Dinju, it's been a long time." Seeing Zhu Zhong's back facing him, Jiang Chun walked in with a smile. "Bai Xiaoyun, and the others found a place to sit down. Zhu Zhong shuddered and quickly got up and said with a smile, "Young master, what are you talking about? We've only not seen each other for 12 hours. Young master, did you get any treasures in the ancient ruins?" Zhu Zhong looked at Jiang Chun eagerly, eager to see him nod his head. However, Jiang Chun shook his head. "I got a broken wooden token." Ah! Zhu Zhong felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His whole body, from his hair to his toes, was cold. He clearly saw that the people from the western region had gotten a lot of treasures. Jiang Chun was the first to enter and was accompanied by so many experts. How could he only get a wooden token? "Zhu Zhong," Jiang Chun suddenly said in a deep voice. Young master." Zhu Zhong knew that Jiang Chun had not agreed to accept him, but he still called him that so that Jiang Chun would feel closer to him. "Hu Shua." Jiang Chun looked at the other person. "Young master, I'm here." Hu Shua quickly stood up. "You asked me before what the name of the sect would be if you became my disciple, right?" Jiang Chun's eyes suddenly became firm, as if he was going to settle the world. "Yes, young master said that we should just call you young master." Hu Shua did not even think about it, and directly said with cupped hands, "That's true, but I have to tell you again. The name of your young master is Jiang Chun, and the name of your sect is 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect." Under everyone's gaze, Jiang Chun said slowly. Although his voice was faint, it was very important. Chapter 1836, 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Hu Shua and Zhu Zhong realized that the young man in front of them was the legendary 10,000 Transformation Sect. "Have you thought about it?" Bai Xiaoyan frowned slightly and asked. The others present didn't know, but he knew it clearly. Jiang Chen's father had been suppressed by his master, and it was his master who had eliminated the school. He was a little surprised. His master and Jiang Chun should be mortal enemies. Why would his master take the initiative to accept Jiang Chun as a disciple? And why would Jiang Chun so obediently enter the Tianji Pavilion? Later, with more contact, Bai Xiaoyan gradually dispelled this concern, until Jiang Chun said this. He was a little worried that if the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect really reappeared, would his master suppress it again? Then whose side should he stand on? Of course. Jiang Chun smiled faintly and said, "Senior brother, don't worry. The 3 immortal kings were against my father, not the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Now that my father is suppressed, I just want the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect to reappear. The 3 immortal kings have no reason to attack. I support you." Bai Xiaoyan gritted his teeth. "Young lord, you weren't talking to Hu Shua alone. You were talking to all of you?" Zhu Zhong was shocked, but he caught a glimmer of hope in Jiang Chen's words. "Don't you want to join my 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect?" Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows slightly. "Of course I'm willing," Zhu Zhong quickly said. Although this was a new sect, with so many experts helping them, their status would definitely not be low in the future. "I want to join too." Zhang Yuan raised his hand. "Haven't you and Hor Fu already entered Kunlun Immortal Mountain?" Jiang Chun smiled. "We can withdraw at any time and join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect." Hor Fu looked at Xian Yu and asked, "Xian Yu Mountain Master, Zhang Yuan, and I will withdraw from Kunlun Immortal Mountain and join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. You won't be angry, right?" "No, of course not," Xian Yu said lightly. She was calm on the surface, but in fact, she was already laughing in her heart. What was the difference between joining the Kunlun Immortal Mountain and joining the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect? Anyway, he also called Jiang Chun Young Master. Even Senior Zhou Kunlun also called him Jiang Chun. The Kunlun Immortal Mountain was originally a part of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. It was just that the people outside didn't know about it. "Me too." Long Dade raised his hand. "If anyone is missing, you will be missing as well." Jiang Chun suddenly revealed a smile. As the sect leader of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, how could he not have a mount? Furthermore, if he were to ride a dragon, how cool would that be? Sect leader Jiang, let's continue to stay in the Pavilion of Heavenly Secrets. Mei Chen Yu thought about it carefully and finally said tentatively, They were originally following Jiang Qin's orders because of Bai Xian Ling naturally. They would not abandon the divine secret pavilion and join a new force. It doesn't matter whether you join or not. Not only am I the sect master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, I'm also the sect master of the Heaven Secrets Pavilion and the alliance leader of your overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance. Jiang Qin nodded and said. The 5 sect masters replied together. If that's the case, let's go back first. Jiang Qin took a deep breath. Now that he had truly established the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, what he needed to do now was to return to the Heaven Secrets Pavilion and establish a new sect near the Heaven Secrets Pavilion. This way, if the sect were to encounter any trouble, not only would the Heaven Secrets Pavilion help, but there would also be the overseas Immortal Mountain nearby. This was much more convenient than relying on the China sect or the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Can you come with me to do something else first? Long Dade pulled Jiang Qin's arm and walked out in front of everyone. What's the matter? Jiang Qin asked as he walked. Can you come with me to the southern region? When they reached the door, Long Dade asked, I want to visit that race. Ever since I ascended, I felt that I had to make a trip there. But my strength is too weak in the immortal world. You mean to say that you want me to be your bodyguard? Jiang Qin pulled a long face and directly exposed his true thoughts. Can you? Long Dade continued to ask. Let me think about it. Jiang Qin placed his hands behind his back and looked like an expert. After following Jiang Qin for so long, how could Long Dade not understand what he meant? He glanced at the people in the living room and said in a low voice, I'll bring you there. It's a deal. Jiang Qin agreed as soon as he finished speaking. F***CK. Long Dade cursed in his heart. Turning around, Jiang Qin said in a deep voice, Hushua, you and Zhu Zhong continue to stay in the western region. Recruit disciples in the sect. I hope to see the growth of your 2 sections. Don't force me to kick you out of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Understood, young master. Hushua and Zhu Zhong cupped their hands and said, Mountain Lord Xianyu, Mountain Lord Weiyu, bring the disciples of Kunlun Immortal sect back first. Jiang Qin looked at Xianyu and Weiyu with a gentle expression. You're not going back with us? Xianyu bit her lips. She had not spent time with Jiang Qin for a long time. I can't go back for now. Let's talk about it after I've established the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Jiang Qin shook his head. Compared to the establishment of the sect, everything else had to wait. Okay, Xianyu agreed. When your 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect reappears in the immortal world, us 9 mountain lords will definitely go and support you. Compared to Xianyu, Weiyu's love for Jiang Qin was more restrained and easygoing. Big senior brother, you should bring brother Jiang Yuan and sister Huofu back to the Divine Secrets Pavilion. Jiang Qin turned to Bai Xiaoyan and said, the 5 sect lords of the overseas Immortal Mountain should also follow us back. What about you? Bai Xiaoyan raised her head to look at Jiang Qin and asked, I have to go out with him to do something. I'll be back soon. Jiang Qin looked at Long Dade and said. After everyone left, Jiang Qin brought Long Dade out of the town. After announcing the establishment of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, Jiang Qin felt a little relieved. However, it was followed by an even greater weight on his shoulders. The establishment of the Immortal sect was undoubtedly a statement to the entire immortal world. However, some sects seemed to be unable to sit still. The Jiang Yuan and Huofu you mentioned should be spirit beasts, right? Seeing that there was no one around, Long Dade returned to his original form. Yes, they are spirit beasts from the southern region. Jiang Qin flipped over and sat on his back. That's not right. Why does Jiang Yuan have the same surname as you? Could it be that you also have the bloodline power of their race? Long Dade's speed was very fast. However, as he floated around in the office, he could not hold back his curiosity and asked, No, I gave him his name. Jiang Qin shook his head and denied. Chapter 1837. Long Dade was silent. After a while, he suddenly twisted violently, as if he wanted to throw Jiang Qin down. Are you crazy? Jiang Qin dashed forward, grasping the dragon's horns with both hands. Why is it that you gave him such a nice name, but you have to call us Dade? Long Dade couldn't take it and shouted, "You're clearly treating us differently." You've seen through it. Jiangchen couldn't help but praise. I don't care. I'll give you two choices. Either you give me a nice name, or you treat everyone equally and change his name to Ape Dade. Long Dade wanted to cry, but had no tears. He angrily said, "No, the name Dade is too unpleasant." Jiangchen frowned and refused. You know it's unpleasant? How long have you been calling us Dade? Hearing this, Long Dade was even angrier. If he knew this would happen, he would have hidden in the barrier and not followed Jiangchen out. Who asked your name to be so long and has the word Dade? If I don't call you Dade, what should I call you? Feeling Long Dade's speed getting faster and faster, Jiangchen was very happy. In the future, it was said that if there was more than one continent in the immortal world, it would save a lot of time traveling between continents. Since you don't care, now that we're both in the same sect, if you don't change your name, I'll keep calling him Yuan Dade until he gets used to this name and comes to you to change his name. Long Dade thought of a plan. I'm afraid it won't work. You're only in immortal supremacy now. Before Jiangchen was suppressed, he was above the 5th level of the immortal king realm. Although he's only in immortal supremacy now, you'll be gone with a slap. Jiangchen thought for a while, then smacked his lips and sighed. Jiangchen, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. You've been treated differently after ascending to the immortal world. Long Dade wailed. He wanted to wait for the other Dades to reach the immortal world and force Jiangchen together. Perhaps he would be able to get a better name. Sigh, what's the point of saying all this? Jiangchen shrugged and said. Sitting on Long Dade's back, Jiangchen arrived in the southern region in less than 6 hours. This was much faster than the previous time, when it would take him almost a day. After reaching the southern region, Long Dade turned into a young man. It was just that he had never looked at Jiangchen in the eye. This matter had already left a shadow in his heart. However, thinking that this time he might need to rely on Jiangchen to protect him, he temporarily did not care about it. Where is that race? Jiangchen crossed his legs and sat on a tree stump, tidying his hair that was messed up by the wind. No matter what, he was still the young master of two sects, the sect leader of a sect, and the alliance leader of an alliance. Naturally, he had to pay attention to his image. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be in the southern region. It seems to be a space that opened up on its own. Long Dade shook his head and continued. It's about the same as the sky-swallowing golden dragon space. Then go ahead and look for it. Let me know when you find it. After Jiangchen said casually, he began to think about establishing the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Seeing that Jiangchen was sitting there without moving, Long Dade was a little lazy. In the vast southern region, if he wanted to find it, who knew when he would be able to find it? After thinking for a while, Long Dade released the immortal chi in his body. Since he had been constantly summoned when he had just ascended, now that he had come out of the enchantment and was in the southern region, the other party should be able to find him soon. Sure enough, not long after Long Dade released his immortal chi, someone rushed over. Jiangchen crossed his legs and looked at them. We've summoned you many times. Why are you only here now? The person who came was holding a long spear. He looked at Long Dade, his eyes full of displeasure. There were some problems during my ascension. I was trapped in a certain enchantment and just came out. Long Dade was still very humble when he had just arrived in the immortal world. I think we should just forget about this kind of dragon. The other person was a little disdainful. How stupid must he be to make mistakes during his ascension? What do you mean? Long Dade was humble, but it did not mean that he did not have a temper. He was the ancestral dragon in the lower realm. All the alternative dragons had to submit to him. Now that he had restrained himself a little, he was being bullied. Nothing much. Follow us back to the clan. If you can pass the test, you will have the qualifications to stay in the clan. If not, you can go anywhere in the immortal world. The person who spoke earlier waved his hand. He didn't really want to argue with Long Dade. Hey, little dragon. Jiangchen was also a little unhappy. He stood up, twisted his waist, and shouted at him. That person did not think that Jiangchen was calling him. Little dragon, is there something wrong with your ears? Jiangchen simply walked in front of him and asked, which family are you from? Are you part of the 6 great spiritual beast clans? What did you call me? When that person realized that Jiangchen was talking to him, he was instantly enraged. He raised the long spear in his hand and pointed it at Jiangchen. I am from the ancient dragon clan, Ao Hung. Our clan is naturally one of the 6 great spiritual beast clans. Do we need you to insist on this? The other person also scolded. Hearing their words, Long Dade was a little disappointed. The dragon clan should be above the beast clan. Like the phoenix clan, they should be standing side by side. However, the dragon clan of the immortal world was standing side by side with the 6 great spiritual beast clans. It was a little degrading. They were even less imposing than the sky-devouring Golden Dragon clan. Ancient Dragon clan? Jiangchen repeated. It means that we have existed since the Great Void and the Ancient Era. We are the Dragon clan that controls the laws of heaven and earth. Ao Hung raised his head, his voice full of pride. All right, I'll go with you. Long Dade was a little disappointed. However, this ancient dragon clan was still considered a member of the dragon clan. Compared to him, who was alone, he was much stronger. When he got familiar with the clan, he could find a few female dragons to breed with and create a new dragon clan. When that time came, he would definitely suppress this ancient dragon clan. Who are you? Ao Hung looked at Jiang Chun and asked. I have some ties with the dragon clan. Jiang Chun released some of the dragon clan's bloodline power. Oh, you are also a member of the dragon clan? Ao Hung was a little surprised. However, he soon became disdainful. I think your clan should be one of the more mixed dragon clans in the immortal world. Since you were here, come back with us. Jiangchen nodded and did not say anything. Then, he followed them and left with Long Dade. However, Jiangchen was a little curious. The old man had clearly said that the sky-devouring golden dragon was quite famous in the immortal world. Why were these 2 young dragon people unable to sense the power of his bloodline? Chapter 1838. Following behind them, they traversed nearly half of the southern region before arriving at a sacred place. This place has the best environment in the entire southern region and has the most abundant heaven and earth spiritual chi. This is the place where our ancient dragon clan is located. Now you know the position of our clan among the spirit beasts? Looking at the beautiful scenery, Ao Hung could not help but say proudly, It's indeed not bad. Jiangchen sighed from the bottom of his heart. If they could live here, it would be extremely good. Jiangchen secretly swore in his heart. When the 10,000 mounts immortal sect was strong enough, and his cultivation was standing proudly in the immortal world, then he would drive the ancient dragon clan out of here and bring the 10,000 mounts immortal sect to take root here. When he had nothing to do, he would go sightseeing with Bai Fengyu and Xianyu. It was a very comfortable life. I guess you have never seen such a scenery before. Jiang Chen's praise sounded envious to Ao Hung. From now on, you have to pray. Pray that you can enter our clan. Only then will you have the qualifications to enjoy this. Bah! Long Dade spat out a mouthful of saliva. This kind of place was not even as beautiful as his own small garden in the lower realm. Ao Hung walked to the riverside and formed a seal with both hands. Then, he stabbed the long spear in his hand into the ground. Immediately after, fluctuations appeared and a spirit barrier appeared in front of everyone. Come in. Remember, don't say things that you shouldn't say. Don't ask things that you shouldn't ask. Ao Hung turned around and looked at Jiang Chun and Long Dade. Then, he led the people beside him into the spirit barrier. Stepping into the spirit barrier, Jiang Chun found that this place was very similar to Huoxian's bathed in Fire Phoenix clan. They both existed as tribes. In the middle, there was also a very magnificent building. However, compared to before, the bathed in Fire Phoenix clan was slightly shabby. Thinking about how Huiyuanba had wasted 500 years, it was understandable. At the entrance of the spirit barrier, they were standing on top of a mountain. From here, they could have a bird's-eye view of the entire ancient dragon clan. Ao Hung was proud and said again, You have never seen such a clan, right? Stand here and take a look. If you fail, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to enter our spirit barrier in the future. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and bring us in. Long Dade was annoyed by his words. If not for the fact that he had just entered the immortal world and urgently needed to join a dragon clan force to raise his cultivation level, he would have killed this little dragon man beside him. Ao Hung flew down. The four of them appeared in front of the hall. Seeing the two strangers appear, many of the clansmen began to discuss. Someone has ascended from the immortal plane. From the looks of it, they don't look like proper dragons. We'll have to leave the barrier soon, right? Amidst these discussions, Jiang Chun and Long Dade walked in. The person sitting in the main hall was the patriarch of the ancient Dharma Avoid Dragon tribe, Ao Zhan. Why are there two of them? Ao Zhan asked as he looked at the person who had just entered. Clan leader, this is a dragon that we sensed ascending from the lower realm. Ao Hung pointed at Long Dade, then introduced Jiang Chun. This person is also from the dragon race, but his aura is very unfamiliar to me. I think he is from some mixed race in the immortal world. Jiang Chun stood where he was and did not say anything. He still had to give some face to the patriarch of one of the 6 great spiritual beasts. However, if that old man could hear Ao Heng's words, would he be so angry that he would come back to life? Mixed race? Ao Zhan looked up at Jiang Chun and instantly lost interest. However, he had to maintain the bearing of the ancient Dharma Void Dragon tribe and did not chase Jiang Chun out directly. Kid, let me ask you. Ao Zhan turned his gaze to Long Dade. When you just ascended, I already sensed you and sent you an invitation. Why did you only come to me after so long? Huh? Before Long Dade could say anything, Ao Hung laughed directly. Then he pointed at Long Dade and said with a smile, Clan leader, you don't know how stupid this dragon is. He ascended into a barrier and was trapped inside for a long time. It was not easy for him to come out before he came to the southern region. Oh? Ao Zhan frowned slightly and was completely disappointed. He leaned on the dragon throne. Millions of years ago, the ancient Dharma Void Dragon tribe broke away from that race. After knowing that the latter was extinct, their status in the immortal world rose a little, and they could be one of the 6 great spiritual beasts. However, unlike the bathed in flames Phoenix tribe, they did not have the bloodline power in their bodies. Therefore, the strength of the entire tribe was slowly declining. Now, he was the only one who maintained the cultivation of the 5th level Immortal King realm. The other members of the tribe were only at the 1st level Immortal King realm at most. Just as he was feeling anxious, he happened to meet a mighty figure. He told him that there would be a dragon that ascended from the lower realm that could save them, so that the ancient Dharma Void Dragon tribe would no longer decline and could even reach the peak strength of that dragon tribe. Therefore, in the long years, every time a dragon ascended from the lower realm, Ao Zhan would gather them in the tribe to check on them. However, he did not find that any dragon had that kind of potential. Until now, a total of 600,000 years had passed. And now, the two of them had disappointed him even more. One was of a mixed race, and the other was so stupid that they might not even understand the immortal skills of their tribe, let alone become the kind of person that the mighty figure said. You are not qualified to enter our ancient Dharma Void Dragon tribe. Go back to where you came from. Especially you? Ao Hung looked at Long Dade with a smile. I advise you to go back to the lower realm. The immortal world is too dangerous and not suitable for you. With your brain, I'm afraid you will be roasted and eaten by others one day. The lower realm is more suitable for you. F*CKU. Long Dade could not take it anymore. When had he ever been insulted like this? Originally, he could endure it for the sake of increasing his strength. Now that he could not enter this tribe and had even been ridiculed 3 times, if he continued to endure it, he would really be looked down upon by others. Jiang Chun took 2 steps back and did not care. However, his storage ring flashed, and Jiang Chun held a red crystal in his fingers. The Flame Phoenix tribe was not far from here. Once Long Dade was in danger, he would immediately crush it and ask for Xian to help. Oh, I think you want to die, right? Not only was Ao Hung not afraid, his smile became even wider. If you want to fight, fight outside. Don't fight here. Ao Zhan sighed. He was not in the mood to care about this at all. He was thinking about when he would meet the dragon tribe that could save their ancient Dharma Void Dragon tribe. Come out. Ao Hung held the long spear in his hand. If I don't beat you up today, I will change my surname to yours. Long Dade was not afraid and took a step forward. Chapter 1839. Brother Dade, you've really misunderstood me, Ao Ting said with a bitter smile. The patriarch said that the few of you from the Flame Phoenix clan must have entered the mountain valley. He specially instructed me to come and meet you. He said that since it's your first time here, you might not know the situation inside. Jiangchen said faintly. He did not agree or refuse. Currently, the ancient Void Dragon clan was already a clan among the immortal sections. Ao Ting was the most talented clansman in the clan and would be his right-hand man in the future. Jiang Chun would not make things difficult for his people. Young master, I was too impulsive previously and offended you. I apologize here and hope that you can forget the previous unpleasantness. Ao Ting said again when he saw Jiang Chen's calm reply. What happened before is in the past. Jiang Chun stared at the depths of the mountain range where the fluctuations came from and said, don't mention it again in the future. Yes, young master. Ao Ting relaxed after receiving Jiang Chen's forgiveness. Have you seen anyone from the Green Python Heaven Snake clan? Bai Xiaoyan glanced at the group of people not far away. The Green Python Heaven Snake clan probably won't participate. Their clan was almost destroyed by us and is probably busy rebuilding. Elder Cho Yuan won't let them show their faces so soon. Jiang Chen pondered for a moment and said, Buzz. An even stronger fluctuation came. The trees in the entire mountain range rustled in the wind. The mountain valley has opened. Staring at a certain spot in the mountain range, a long spear instantly appeared in Ao Ting's hand, and he fully displayed his cultivation. Second-level immortal supremacy was already considered the top among the cultivators who entered the mountain valley. Let's go in and take a look. Jiang Chen turned his head to look at Bai Xiaoyan and Long Dade and said, Young master, wait. Ao Ting hurriedly stopped Jiang Chun when he saw that he was about to enter. Is there a problem? Jiang Chun turned his head. Perhaps the Fire Celestial clan's patriarch did not explain the situation clearly. Ao Ting swallowed his saliva and said, In the Valley of the Mountains, everyone is equal. There are no rogue cultivators, spirit beasts, or the 6 major spirit beasts. You can fight at will inside, and the grudges can't be brought outside the boundary. That's why I hope young master can be on guard. You're now famous in the southern region. If they want to do something to young master in order to gain some reputation, thanks for the reminder. Jiang Chen nodded. 5 types of immortal energy instantly surrounded his body. Then he rushed into the forest. Ao Ting immediately followed. Before he came here, he had been repeatedly warned by the patriarch that if Jiang Chen encountered any danger inside, he would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. He might even receive the most severe punishment in the sect. This was something he couldn't bear. Big brother Ao Ting, this young master is really not giving us any face. We have already taken the initiative to lower our heads, but he still has this cold attitude. Why don't we just ignore it? The 2 clansmen behind him were not satisfied with Jiang Chen's attitude towards Ao Ting and complained. Shut up, all of you. Ao Ting stopped and scolded them in a low voice when he saw Jiang Chun had already rushed into the mountain range. To think that you still know that Jiang Chun is the young master. Let me tell you, we're lucky that he didn't take it to heart when we offended him previously. Do you think a first-level immortal venerable like me is enough to deal with him? He's only at the 5th level of the immortal realm. The clansmen were confused. You know too little about him. He's only at the 5th level of the immortal realm, but he can fight against an immortal monarch expert. If I hear any of you disrespect him in the future, I'll be the first to teach you a lesson, let alone the patriarch. Ao Ting snorted coldly and continued to chase after Jiang Chun. The 2 clansmen looked at each other. They didn't know why Ao Ting's attitude towards Jiang Chun had taken a 180-degree turn. However, since Ao Ting didn't have anything against Jiang Chun, they wouldn't provoke him. In the mountain range, everyone had gathered here. Everyone stopped in front of a mountain that was more than 100 meters tall. They stared ahead. Jiang Chun looked up and found that the fluctuation that was almost one-third of the southern region came from here. At this moment, traces of the bounded domain had been exposed at the foot of the mountain. There are at least thousands of people. Bai Xiaoyan glanced at the dense crowd in front of the mountain and said while holding her head, "Yes, there are more people than those who entered the Fire Dragon Hall," Jiangchen replied. After a while, Ao Ting and the others caught up with him. The three people were standing behind Jiangchen. They didn't approach him. They just waited there quietly. 4 hours later, the bounded domain at the foot of the mountain was suddenly opened. All the cultivators who were watching the bounded domain immediately moved and rushed into the bounded domain. For them, the first one who entered the bounded domain was most likely to find treasures. Therefore, they didn't need to compete with others. "I think we'd better wait." Looking at the chaotic scene in front of him, Jiangchen gave up the idea of entering the bounded domain. Half an hour later, those cultivators who should enter the bounded domain had all entered the bounded domain. Those who couldn't enter were injured in the conflict just now. They understood that they were protected by their families outside and didn't dare to kill people. Once they dragged their injured bodies in, they wouldn't be restricted by these restrictions. Not to mention finding treasures, it would be a miracle if they could come out alive. When the bounded domain became quiet again, Jiangchen and the other two rushed in. They passed through the seal and saw the situation inside. One mountain range after another, and a huge river that fell from the sky. From time to time, they could even feel the fluctuation of spirit beasts from the bounded domain. "Young master, there are spirit beasts from antiquity times in the bounded domain. Different from us, they seem to be affected by some rules and can't evolve their intelligence at all." When Ao Ting and the others followed in, a shocking roar came from the bounded domain. "How big is this place?" Jiangchen withdrew his perception. As soon as he entered, he spread out his perception. However, he couldn't even touch the border. "I'm not sure. I've been here 3 times, but the bounded domain was only open for 10 minutes. I couldn't even touch the border. However, I heard from the leader that this bounded domain is 1/3 the size of the southern region." Ao Ting shook his head and explained. 1/3. Jiangchen couldn't help but feel surprised. He couldn't help but exclaim at the scale of the bounded domain. "The three of you don't have to follow us. Let's split up. Moreover, you're not strong enough to protect us. If we encounter danger, we'll have to turn around and protect you." Long Dade still hated Ao Ting. "You." Hearing Long Dade's sarcastic remarks, the two of them couldn't take it anymore. "Behave yourselves." Ao Ting turned around and shouted. Then he smiled and said, "Brother Dade is right. Let's split up then." Chapter 1840. Long Dade was also planning to get some money from Jiangchen so that he could buy a better weapon. Then he would throw this thing away as soon as possible. The ancestral dragon was holding a rusty weapon. If he had not just fought with Ao Hung, he would have been embarrassed to take it out. "Little brother, don't you know what this is?" Ao Zhan stared at Long Dade with wide eyes. He was sure that he did not recognize the weapon wrongly. However, Long Dade's reaction made him suspicious. "A spear," Long Dade replied casually. "To tell you the truth, little brother, this spear is the legendary sky-breaking spear. It's the treasure of our dragon tribe." Ao Zhan returned the spear to Long Dade and explained, "Legend has it that this spear was created by an ancestor when the dragon tribe was first born in the immortal world." "That's it?" Long Dade was stunned by his words. However, looking at the thing in his hand, he could not make the connection. Jiangchen could not help but complain. He did not expect the name of the sky-swallowing golden dragon to be so lame. Even the name of the weapon was unique. And this was the famous dragon clan back in the day. "That's right. I don't know why it became like this. However, my senses will not be wrong. This is because millions of years ago, it was hanging in the ancestral hall where our tribe worshipped our ancestors." Ao Zhan nodded vigorously. He felt that the person that the Almighty was talking about had been found. So what if he looked stupid? Not to mention the immortal world. Even in the lower realm, those who had great power and great fortune often looked simple and stupid. That was the best tool to hide their intelligence and ability. "Your tribe?" Long Dade shook his head and said, This is not something from your tribe. I got it from somewhere else. Little brother, please tell me where it is. Ao Jean became even more excited. I can't tell you for now. Long Dade gradually understood what was going on. Little brother, please tell me. This is very important to the ancient dragon tribe. After being rejected by Long Dade, Ao Jean was sweating profusely. Clan leader Ao, if you really want to know, please tell us the truth. This way, we will know your sincerity, and then we will consider whether we should tell you or not. You're not saying anything, but you want us to tell you everything we know. That doesn't seem reasonable, does it? Zhang Chen said coldly when he realized that the sky-devouring golden dragon was somehow related to the magic void ancient dragon. This, Ao Jean was in a difficult position. Saying these words meant that he was handing over the secrets of the ancient Fanshu dragon. Moreover, if news of this were to spread, he would become the laughingstock of the entire immortal world. However, if he didn't say anything, not only would he not get the information he wanted, but his own kind, who might be the savior of his race, would also turn around and leave. Anxiously and hesitantly, Ao Jean finally sighed heavily. All right, then I'll tell you the truth. I just hope that the two of you can keep this a secret. If you tell anyone, I'm afraid we won't be able to survive in the immortal realm. Ao Jean looked at Jiang Chun, then at Long Dade. Don't worry, clan leader Ao. We've always swallowed the words we shouldn't say. Jiang Chun nodded at him. Please wait a moment. Ao Jean chose to believe Jiang Chun. There was nothing he could do about it. He walked to the door and looked outside for a while. When he turned around, the entire hall was shrouded in a temporary barrier that he had set up. Phew! Ao Jean let out a heavy breath. The ancient Fanshu dragon isn't the only one. We split off from a race called the Sky-Devouring Golden Dragon millions of years ago, Ao Jean said slowly. Sky-Devouring Golden Dragon? Jiang Chun and Long Dade confirmed their suspicions. You've heard of this race? Ao Jean looked up in surprise. This race has disappeared from the immortal realm for far too long. You just ascended to the immortal realm, but you know about it? Please continue, clan leader Ao. Jiang Chun didn't reveal anything. Ao Jean nodded and continued. When we split off, it was said that someone had used a divination technique to predict the future of our race. So the clan leader at the time split off my branch. Unexpectedly, an accident happened, and the sky-devouring golden dragon tribe disappeared from the immortal realm. The branch we split off from doesn't have the purest bloodline among the other races. Therefore, there's no pure bloodline power in our blood. After 1,000,000 years, our strength is gradually declining. Today, my cultivation can barely be ranked in the top 3 among the 6 great spirit beast races. Ao Jean shook his head helplessly. Then what do you plan to do? Jiang Chen's eyes were as calm as an ancient well. His body contained the pure bloodline power of the sky-devouring golden dragon. The one who divined the future of the sky-devouring golden dragon tribe should be his mother. After all, apart from her, only he and Bai Xiaoyan were proficient in divination techniques. A long time ago, I met an expert. He said that one day, there would be someone who would ascend from the lower realm who would be able to save our Fanshu ancient dragon. Ever since then, I've been paying attention. I've been disappointed for hundreds of thousands of years. I never thought that I would actually meet him today. Ao Jean grew more excited as he spoke. An expert? Could it be my mother or my father? Jiang Chen wondered inwardly. However, seeing how excited Ao Jean was, Jiang Chen cleared his throat and prepared to accept his new subordinates. Of the 6 great spirit beast races, he'd trampled on the azure python sky snake, roped in the blazing phoenix tribe, and was now about to take the sky-devouring golden dragon tribe under his wing. Jiang Chun prepared to investigate. If what Ao Jean said was true, and his performance was good, he could use the bloodline power in his body to help them. Just as Jiang Chun was about to accept Ao Jean's sincere request, he suddenly bowed to Long Dade. Little brother, since you've obtained the sky-breaking spear of my tribe, you must be the one who can save us. Please help us. Ao Jean bowed and cupped his fists, ignoring Jiang Chun behind him. Me? Long Dade pointed at himself. He'd only obtained this broken spear by chance. How did he become the savior of this tribe? Fine, fine. Jiang Chen sighed and leaned back in his chair, resting his chin on one hand. Long Dade was his subordinate anyway. If Ao Zhan admitted his mistake, so be it. If he performed well in the future, Jiang Chen would still help him. All right, I agree. Long Dade didn't know why he'd become the savior of this tribe, but he still agreed. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.